Hi guys, so we'll start in next 5 minutes, I'd say. Let people join in. So we'll start around 8 to 5 or 6. Okay. We'll start in next couple of minutes, guys. Let's wait for some people to join in. Start at around 8 or 7. All right, guys, let's start today's lecture. Okay, so I'll share my screen. I hope my screen is visible and I'm audible to you all. All right, so we'll start with functions and arrays as expected. And starting off with the plus minus problem, the one we did yesterday. All right, I hope now arrays is taught in the class. Okay, yeah, it's no issues. It's just a DB issue. Try hard reloading your server and you'll be able to submit. Don't worry about it. Okay, so yeah, functions is okay. Functions is not required in any of the questions. So that's just not needed. Okay. So given an array of integers, calculate the ratio of its elements that are positive, negative, and zero. So clearly, what this question says is you will be given a integer n, that is the number of elements that are there in the array, followed by you will be given n elements in the array. And out of these elements, what you ideally need to determine is the number of elements that are positive, the number of elements that are negative, the number of elements that are zero. All in all, you are given a set of integers. You need to find out the number of integers that are positive, number of integers that are negative, and number of integers that are zero. Okay, so that's what we need to do. So let's start coding. Okay, so that's what we need to do. We need to find the count of positive integers, negative integers, and the integers that are equal to zero. And at the end, what we will be doing is we'll be dividing it by total number of integers to get the ratio. That's how we do in a ratio. Like how do we get the ratio in a particular set? We count the number of elements that are belonging to that set, divide by the total number of elements. So that's what we are doing. We will count the number of positive elements, divide by total n, count the number of negative elements, divide by n, count the number of total zero elements that are equal to zero, divide by n. So that is what we will be doing. But there is specificity that is defined that we need to use double in Java, because that is obvious that the number of positive elements will be less than or equal to number of elements, right? For our obvious logic. But so it is for sure that the value is going to be in points. So some of you might say that why not use float? You can use float, no issues, but the question says you have to use double. Always use double because the test cases are been built that manner. So you need to use double only. Okay. So now we have system.in. Let's define integer n equals sc dot next int. We don't ideally need them to store in an array, but we can. So let's define, since we have learned array recently. So let's define the array in bracket arr equals new int bracket n. So let's take the inputs first. So for int I equals 0, I less than n, I plus plus, arr I equals sc dot next int. Okay. So now we'll define three integers that are double, positive. Yeah, that's a variable name, dude. You can define it anything. It's up to you. There's no issues with that. And set it. We are iterating over the array again. Now, if arri is greater than 0, that means it is a positive integer. So we'll add in positive. We can do a positive plus plus, or we can do positive equals positive plus 1. Okay, these both statements are equivalent. That means negative. So negative plus plus. Else that means it's a zero. So we'll do a zero plus plus. Now we need to print three statements. So we print them. System dot out dot print ln. So what do we need to print? We need to print first positive, then negative, then zero. Always print in the same order, otherwise your output will not match and you'll face failed test cases. Okay. Similarly, system dot out dot print ln negative divided by n, and again zero divided by n. That's it. Okay. I think the site is facing some issues. They might have been updating the site. That's why your codes are not getting submitted. So don't worry about it. The site will be up within an hour or so. Then you will be able to submit it. Okay. So this is the code. Any doubts in this particular code now? Divide by n because we need to print the ratios. Okay. All right. Someone wants to try run. Ratios we need to print. We don't need to print the number of positive, negative, or zero. We need to print the ratios. And how we calculate the ratios? Entity count divided by total count. That's what the ratio means. So how many positive entities we counted? We know the total number of elements are n. So that's why positive divided by n. Line 10 is the definition of array. Varun, you have not attended last class. Please go back and attend the last class. Yeah, you can do it like that. So because we go from 0 to n because the array indexing is based from 0 to n minus 1, guys. Yesterday, this must be taught. Don't ask these questions now. So indexing is still n minus 1. That's why we are using n minus 1. Okay. For those who want to try run, let's try run this. This is our particular input. N makes no sense to us now because we will be dealing with array elements. So right now, positive is what? I'm removing this statement now. This is 0. This is 0. And this is 0. Minus 4. Minus 4 is a negative element. That means it goes to this if. So 0 plus 1, that is equal to 1. 3, that goes to this if. That means it is increased to 1. Minus 9, this if 2. Minus 5, 3. 4 and 1, again 2 and 3. So 3 elements are positive, 3 elements are negative. That is pretty evident. So this loop is done. So what is this is? This is divide by n. This is not backslash n. This is divide by n. Understand the difference. Positive divide by n because we need to print the ratios. We don't need to print 3, 3. But what are we printing is 3 divided by 6. The proportion of occurrences. How do you calculate the ratios, guys? See, there is a certain level of basic math that we expect you to know. Yeah, that's what we need to do. You basically need to count the number of positive, negative, and zero and divide each of them by n so that you get the ratio of positive elements in those n elements, you get the ratio of negative elements in those elements, and you get the ratio of elements that are equal to zero in those particular elements. Okay, so basically we need to print the ratio of positive, negative, and zero elements. Yeah, you can write that in one line, no issues. No, it's not like average. Average is a different ratio is different, guys. Come on, yeah. It's a basic 8-9 concept. Like, how do you calculate ratios? That's what it is about. रेशियो मींस कि आपको एक सपोज करो एक बोल में आपको 10 इंटीजर दिए आपने उसमें से पॉजिटिव कैलकुलेट किया है तो पॉजिटिव और टोटल एलिमेंट्स को डिवाइड करोगे तो उसमें कितने पॉजिटिव एलिमेंट्स उसका रेशियो कैसे निकालोगे दैट्स व्हाट इट इज अबाउट because in this we have taken the array input and in this we counted the number of integers that are positive, negative, and zero. Yeah, in average we take sum by count. This is the entity divided by count. There's a difference because the question says that you need to use double in Java and you have decimals to be printed. So obviously you'll use either float or double. Jay, I have said it again, so don't repeat your queries. It's unnecessary waste of time. I'm anyway going to ignore these. You can combine that in the first loop itself. You just have to, what you have to do is basically command X and command V, and you will be good to go. In this loop itself, you can do that. That is not an issue. But for your convenience, I've written in 2 for loops. Am I clear? The question is pretty simple. You need to count the number of positive, negative, and zero integers. And based on the count, you need to print the ratios. That's what the question is. There is no ifs and buts in the question, yeah. If you would have asked me in this the staircase problem and the other problems, I would have understood. Ratio among total elements. How will you find the ratio? Guys, if you want to cover more questions, we need to be a little more quicker. Okay. No, Piyush, I have explained in Hindi and English both. Yeah, that's what it is means. Just give me a second. No re-explanations till the time all the questions are covered. Okay. So I'm closing this question now. The platform is having some issues, so we won't be able to run the program as of now. It will be up soon, so don't worry about it. Okay. Yeah. All right. Next question. A contestant who earns a score equal to or greater than the score of the kth place finisher will advance to the next round as long as the contestant earns a positive score. A total of n participants took part in the contest where n is always greater than equal to k, and you already know their scores. Calculate how many participants will advance to the next round. Okay, so basically what this question says is you are given scores of n participants and in the order they finish. So the first participant has finished first, the second participant has finished second. So the scores will be in non-increasing order. That means the score will be like 10, 10, 9, 8, something like that. Not something like 10, 9, 11. No, that was not possible because the highest score will be at the first place. Okay. So basically what we need to do in this particular problem is we'll be given a particular score, and all the participants who have scored equal to or greater than that score will advance to the next round. And there's one more condition, that their score should be positive. If the comparison score is given as negative, then you should also need to compare that the score is positive at the same time. And you need to print the count of these scores which are greater than that score. Okay. Any doubts still here? All in all, you'll be given a score. You need to calculate the number of elements of the array that are greater than that score. Any doubts still here? You are given n scores and you will be given a score that you need to compare with. Okay, that's the essence of the question. Now, all the scores in the array that are equal to or greater than score can advance to the next round. So you need to print the count. So you need to count the number of elements that are equal to or greater than that particular element that is given to you. Okay. So in this problem, they will give you the index of that element. So you can access that element by simply doing ARR k minus 1. That's it. Anything else? बेसिकली आपको एक स्कोर दिया जाएगा, आपके पास n स्कोर्स होंगे, तो आपको अब बताना है कि इसमें से कितने स्कोर उस स्कोर से बराबर है या उससे ज्यादा है. दैट इज व्हाट इट इज अबाउट. क्लियर नाउ? दिस इज व्हाट द क्वेश्चन इज. सो आपको अब व्हाट यू आर गिवन इज kth प्लेस, यू आर नॉट गिवन द एग्जैक्ट स्कोर. सो now I'll explain why you will use k minus 1 and k. Okay, so let's first start coding. So we'll first take initially scanner input. Now let's take integer n equals sc dot next int. Now we need to take the input k. K equals as defined in the input. Now we'll define the array of size n. Let's take the array input. Okay, now we have the array inputs. Now what we need to do, we first need to get that score, because what we are given is kth place. It is not the score. So how to get the score? Some of you will say, let's directly access ARR k. The first logic is correct, but we need to do k minus 1. Now why k minus 1? I'll show you. The array index goes from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 till n minus 1. But how are these persons finishing? Say A1, A2, AN, where AI is the score earned by the person who got ith place. So at 0 index, the person who came first, that score is present at 0 index. The person who came second, his score is present at first index. Similarly, the person who came third, his score is present at second index. Similarly, a person who came fourth, his score is present at third index. Similarly, a person who came fifth, his score is present at fourth index. Okay. And similarly, the person who came nth, that is last, his score is present at n minus 1. So we can similarly infer for a k, it will be k minus 1. That's why we get the par score. Par score is means, or you can say it as cutoff score. Okay, that will be equal to ARR k minus 1. Any doubts still here? Solely based on the indexing purpose, since the person who is finished first, his score as 0. Similarly for second at 1. Similarly for n, it is at n minus 1. So for k, it will be at k minus 1. Jyotir, I am not explaining the question again now, guys. Come on here. I explained the question thrice before proceeding again. The question is simply says you are given a score, you are given a list of scores. You need to tell the count of scores in that list that are equal to or greater than that particular score that you have given. Okay, I'll explain k minus 1 against no issue. Okay, so basically array indexes are from 0 to n minus 1. Everyone knows that. Okay, that is clear. But what you're given is the person who finished first has the first score. So that means ARR 0 has the person, has the score who's has the score of the person who has finished first. So ARR 1 will have the person who have the score of the person who has finished second. Basically क्या हो रहा है, आप अब जब जो सबसे पहला आया उसका सबसे पहले होगा array में, but array का पहला element is not 1, it starts from 0. If you start from I equals 1, what will be problem? We will have to define all the things in according manner. We'll have to declare an array of n plus 1, because if we start from I equals 1 and we go till I less than n only, then we lose one element. And if we don't go, if we go to less than equal to n, then ARRN does not exist, because आपकी array तो 0 से n minus 1 तक के लिए defined है. That's why we cannot start from I equals 1. Okay. इसलिए ARR k minus 1 लेना is the only option. Clear? So now what is left is basically we need to do a count. count is equal to 0 initially. So what we'll do is for int I equals 0, I less than n, I plus plus. If count is greater than cut off underscore score and count, sorry, not count, it's going to be ARRI, my bad. Because count is something we'll be incrementing, right? ARI is greater than 0. Why is 0? Because say if the par score turns out to be 0, but we need to count the elements that are greater than 0. Okay. As long as the contestant earns a positive score. Positive means it needs to be greater than 0. That's why this condition is there. And if these two conditions hold, we'll just add count by 1 and end. That's it. We'll now print it and done. Now, any doubts in this problem? The only catch was this thing. That's it. Yeah, so equal to is the cutoff. That's the correct point, Satyam. From line 18, we have defined the count because we need to count the number of elements that are greater than or equal to cutoff score and are positive. Now we iterate over the entire for loop. So we will have the cutoff score first if condition, and we'll find out if it is greater than 0 also. Okay, and if these both conditions hold, we'll increase the count by 1 because we found a ARI that clears the cutoff score and is also greater than 0. So it can advance to the next round. So that's why we increase our count here. Alright guys, it's not running. I'll run it somewhere else. Wait a minute. See, phi is the index. It's not the score. You need to get that in get that. ARR k minus 1, that means cutoff score in this case is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 7. So all the elements that are greater than or equal to 7 will go to the next round. We are accessing the value by ARR k minus 1. We know the person, if the person has finished clear, then its score is at k minus 1 by this analogy. Now, if we have got the score, we'll just need to compare it with it. We are getting ARR k minus 1. We know we need to compare the score from the fifth person. The person has finished finished fifth. We need to get the score, get his score first. So how will we get the score? Because it's in order only always. That's why. Clear. This outputs 5, 6. That is correct because we have 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 7. These all will pass. Count plus this because you have found a score that is satisfying both the conditions. So your count will increase by 1. No problem. I'm not explaining from again. You tell me the line where you have doubt. What did you not understand? Tell me that, na. K is the index and ARR k minus 1 gives you the score at that index. K is the finishing position. Now you need to get the score of the person who finished at that point. That's it. What is the doubt? Tell me the line number. Now we have cleared till here. We are clear till line 17, I guess. How we got ARR k minus 1. After that, what we were needed to do, we need to find the number of elements that are greater than or equal to that score. Yeah, k value we have taken from user input. Read the problem once. The first line of input contains two integers n and k separated by a single space. From line 17. So basically, cutoff score is what you have given the k. You need to find the score of the kth position player. Okay. So kth place finisher score you need to find, and the person who has finished first, his score is at 0, second at 1, third at 2. Similarly, k at k minus 1. So we do a ARR k minus 1 to get the score. If there is how can a score be negative? If there is entries as 0, then we don't need to worry because this condition will take care of it. We are increasing the count only when the count is increased by 1. And after when we have once we have found the par score, we are just iterating on the for loop. If any element that is greater than or equal to par cutoff score and is also greater than 0, then we increase the count by 1. Yeah, so we have got index as input here. Na? Line number 10, what we have got? Yeah, you can use any variable, sum, count, whatever you want. Count is just a variable name. Variable name is, what does variable mean? It is not fixed. K can be from 1 till n. So your k minus 1 will be from 0 to n minus 1. There are n players, so first till n. So if say k is equal to n, so if you access ARR n, that is that possible? No, because that will give you out of bounds. So that's why it's going to be minus 1, because the array indexing is from 0 to n minus 1 and the positions are from 1 till n. That's why it is minus 1, so that we are balancing this extra 1. What logic, George? Which logic you didn't find? I just explained ARR k minus. Apart from that, there's nothing in the logic. You're just comparing with the cutoff score that you found out here and checking whether it is greater than 0 and increasing the count at the same time. I'm not describing any errors. It's done now. Guys, if you're going to expect to, to explain each question 10 times, it is not possible. I have questions to cover. All right. So this program will submit. I have tried run for you. If you want, you can run this on, I can run on this input as well. See, if you guys are going to repeat the question, it's not possible. How can you do ARI greater than K minus K? That is a position. You need to get the score of the player. First is the number of players. Second is the player position finisher. When I have already explained in Hindi and English both now, it's done. I'm no more explaining this again. Yeah, because the question states you need to give the count of only those entities that are positive. Okay. I'm moving on to the next problem now. Pairs. See guys, if you want this much time to be taken in each and every question, don't expect me to cover each and every question. It's the thing. We have a limited number of classes. We have our own time constraints. And it's not like that I'm explaining every question once. It's explained thrice. Some of you guys join late. Some of you guys don't join. Some of you guys come in the middle and ask me. That's not possible. Yeah? Any programming question is independent of language. Understand that. can code it in C, C++, Java, Python, whichever language you like. We don't have an issue with that. Okay, pairs. Given an array of n integers, count the total pairs of integers that have a difference of k. Okay, so what does a pair mean? A pair basically means when you're given a set of elements, you pick up any two elements and you join them. That's a pair. So those two elements will be called a pair. So you need to count all the pairs in an array that have a difference k. Okay. So let's start writing the number of pairs. So what 32 can be paired with what all? 32 can be paired with 0. 32 can be paired with 63 as well. And 32 can be paired with 8 as well. Okay. Coming to 0. No number can be paired with itself. So each number should be taken twice. So 32 comma 32 is not a valid pair. If someone says 32 comma 32, then there should be at least two 32s only. Then you can write this as a pair. Otherwise, you cannot. So you cannot choose the same index twice. Say in these indexes are what? Let's write their indexes as well. These are what? 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if you are taking index 0 as the first element of the pair, then you cannot take index 0 as the second element. That's why 32 comma 32 is not a valid pair. So if someone says you and come and says you that why not 32 comma 32, this is why, because you cannot take the same index element twice. Is it clear? So now we have taken 0 as the first element. So what all elements can we take? 0 comma 32. 0 comma 0 is not possible. So we'll take 0 comma 63 and what? 0 comma 8. Now coming to 63, we'll have 63 comma what? 32. Then 63 comma 0 and 63 comma 8. Next 8 space 32, 8 space 0 and 8 space 63. And 4 is the size, 4 is the number of elements, 1 is the difference that you need to find. So the pair, you need to give the count of the pairs that have difference case. So that means 32 minus 0, if 32 minus 0 is equal to this, that means the count will increase by 1. Okay. So you have all the pairs now. You need to calculate the difference. And if a difference is exactly what it is given, then you need to increase the count. That's what the question is. Now, there's an interesting fact here. What is given an array of n integers? So you will need to be given n, so that this is n. Count the number of pairs that have a difference of k. So you need k also by user. So this is k. First line contains n and k integers. Second line contains n numbers of the array. That's it. Okay. So now coming to the interesting part. Can you see that we have a repetition of pairs? 32 comma 0 and 0 comma 32 are not exactly same, but we just have to interchange these elements. So we are iterating our array extra. All right, let's go by this logic a little later. First, let's code the logic that we have found out. Okay, so let's first define the scanner. We will be only able to cover this particular question. Till now, we have just taken the inputs. This is the array input that we are taking now. Done with array input. What is wrong in line 26? Tell me. I don't see anything wrong there. What does the first line of the question says? Given an array of n integers. That's why it is an array question. Okay. So now let's first initialize the count that is equal to 0 initially. Now we iterate the for loop. I denotes the first element. Now we have taken the first element, so we now need to take the second element also. So we'll iterate over the loop again. When we iterate over the loop again, what are the if conditions now? If ARR I minus ARR j equals k and I is not equal to j, so that we skip all these cases of 32, 32, 0, 0, 63, 63, 8, 8. I denotes the first element, j denotes the second element. So if the index of the first element and second element are exactly equal, then what does that mean? We are picking the same element. So if we are picking the same element, is that a valid pair? No, it is not a valid pair. So we just need to do a count plus plus. So how can you solve this question, Neeraj? Yeah, you can declare it that way also. It's the same thing. No issues are there. So variable j basically represents the second element of the pair. We have to choose two elements in a pair. Now we have chosen first element by taking a I index. Now we need to choose the index of the second element. So we took that as a j because there are two elements and first element can be paired with all the elements except itself. So we need to iterate over the loop entirely again. That's why. Line 36, we need to count the pairs that have a difference of k. So I is our first element, j is the second element. So we did ARI minus ARJ equals k, and I is not equal to j, so that we ensure the overlapping that we are here. Mohani, that might be a network issue. Please check your network. Now we have got the count, so we can print it at the end. Which overlapping? What if 30? See, I'll dry run for you guys. Don't worry. Okay, our n is what? 4. Our k is 1, 32, 0, 63, 8. Okay. Neeraj, I've told how will you iterate over an array, dude? This is not a first class, yeah, guys. Come on, this is a 6th or 7th class right now. If we're going to ask the question of first class, we are not moving ahead at all. And it's not like we have paced the course so much that you're not able to understand at all. It's obvious that we have defined an array, so we'll be having a varied number of integers. So we'll need to do something to iterate over the loop. So what we do, we either do a for loop or while loop. That's what we are doing. Line 26 is just the definition of array, yaar. Yeah, I'm coming to that, Mitul. Just wait for a second. You're correct, but yeah, there's certain ifs and buts to that. Okay, so we'll first dry run for this particular thing. Alright, let me dry run for this so that some equations also hold. Wait a second, guys. Okay, 5, 2. Now we started iterating. So basically 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So indexes will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't become 2D array. 2D array becomes when we ARR I bracket J, bracket I bracket J. This is a 2D array. This is a 2D array. This is a 1D array. Okay. So now we have taken int I equals 0. That means first element is the ARR I. That means in the pair, the first element now, right now we have taken is 1. Now we start iterating for j equals 0. So what the pair becomes right now is 1 comma 1. But is it a valid pair? No, because for a pair, we need to select two different elements. That's where this particular condition holds. If by any chance this condition holds true, say the k was told to be 0 here. Okay. Now if k is told to be 0 here, this condition will hold true and you will not have this condition. Then what will happen? Count will be increasing 1. Yeah. So what is we need to get all the pairs. ARRJ is 0. ARRJ is not 0. ARRJ J is equal to 0. ARRJ is this particular value. That's the first element of the array. ARR0 denotes the first element of the array. 0 is the index. See, these are two different loops. ARRI is the ith position element. ARRJ is the jth position element. How do we select the pairs? 32 comma 32 was also a pair for us, but that was not a valid pair. So we skipped that. So then we came to 32 comma 0, then came to 32 comma 63. So that means one of the I is constant and j is varying from 0 till n. Then I increases once, then j is varying from 0 till n. Then I increases once, then j increases from 0 to n. Yeah, both loops are working on the same array. It's like we are picking one element from that array. We have picked that element. Now we have added if condition so that we never pick that element again as of now, and we can pick rest of all the elements. No, it can means ARRI minus ARRJ equals k only. If you are taking minus k also now, that means you will have to avoid these pairs. Otherwise, it will be a repetition. Because 32 comma 0 and 0 comma 32 will be counted first time also and second time also. That is incorrect. Yeah, ARI, that will make it first time for the same, but this is the condition that will help us revoke from that. So our count will never increase because if both are 0, then I is equal to j. So that's why it won't increase. That's it. If you want to use I in j equals I plus 1, then you will have to take care of both 32 comma 0 and 0 comma 32. See, this pair is being repeated, right? So if you are using j equals I plus 1, that means what you need to do ideally is you just need to switch the pair and ask. That means this will be your if condition. If this is a if condition, then you can start from I plus 1. See, if you have not attended the first classes, it's your mistake. You need to go back and attend those classes. It's not going to work that way. Yeah, no need of I equals j. That is correct. If you're starting from I plus 1, that is but obvious that I is never going to be equal to j. Yeah, you can just merge these two conditions by doing that. ARRI minus ARJ mod k. That will be also correct. But it's just that the math.mod is not taught to yet. So I'm not using that library. Yeah, that is also correct, Himanshu. There's no issue. Either way, you can declare the array. Any more doubts? Why do you want to write it if statement? Because if you print it, that means the count will print from 1, 2, 3, like that. But we just need to print the total count. Line 41 is basically increasing. We have found a pair that has a difference. Okay, so we'll increase the count by 1. That's what line 41 means. All right, let's run the code. Here's a semicolon. See, output is 3. That is the desired output here. It's correct. Plus count. What does plus count do? You can also use count equals count plus 1. That is the equivalent statement. We had discussed it earlier, so I was using that. Try run line 39. Okay. Yeah, we'll try run for this because we have not explained it. So 1, 5 is going to, what all pairs are going to exist? I is 1. Okay. Now J starts from I plus 1. So that means first pair will be 1, comma 5. So 1 minus 5 equal to 4? No. Is 5 minus 1 equal to 4? Is 5 minus 1 equal to 0? No. Because the pair, the difference we are looking for is 2. So that means this is not a correct pair. So let's move on. So 1 is still remains the same. J is what now? 0, 1, 2. So 1, comma 3. Now 1 ARR I minus AJ. 1 minus 3 equals minus 2. Minus 2 is equal to 2. No. But 3 minus 1, that is equal to 2. So that means the count will now increase from 0 to 1. Now 1, comma 4. 1 minus 4 minus 3. 4 minus 1, 3. Not equal. Skipped. 1, comma 2. So 1, comma 2. 1 minus 2 minus 1. 2 minus 1, 1. Not a pair. So that's it. Okay. Coming to 5. Now for 5, we'll start from 3 itself because we have taken care of 5, 5, comma 1 in these conditions itself. When we compared 1, comma 5 and 5, comma 1 both. So for 5, we'll start with 5, comma 3 because that's a unique pair now. Can you see 5, comma 3 here? No. So now I is at 5. So 5, comma 3. That means 5 minus 3 equal to 2. Yes, 2. So count will increase now. 3 minus 5 equal to 2. No, that doesn't matter because the first condition is hold it true. Now for 5, comma, next is 5, comma 4. So 5 minus 4 equals to 1. 1 is equal to 2. No. 4 minus 5 equals minus 1. Is it equal to 2? No. That's pair skipped. 5, comma 2. So 5 minus 2 equals 3. 3 is equal to 2? No. 2 minus 5 equals minus 3. Minus 3 equals 2? No. Okay. So moving on, it's called the next is 3, comma 4. 3, comma 4 is 3 minus 4 minus 1 not equal to 2. Correct. 4 minus 3, 1 not equal to 2. Correct. Skipped. Next is what? 3, comma 2. Okay. Now we have I equal to 3 that I forgot to write. 3, comma 4 and 3, comma 2. 3, comma 2 is 3 minus 2 equals 1. 2 minus 3 equals minus 1. Okay. Why 5, comma 1? Where is 5, comma 1? I have not written 5, comma 1, dude. There is no 5, comma 1. Okay. So 3, comma 2 is done. Now the left pair is 4, comma 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. So the count increases to this. No, I is equal to 0 and j equals 3. That means we will access these 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. So 1, comma 4. I and j are the indexes. Now we'll access ARR means these values. This is what we are referring to. Clear? Yeah, we are working on the website, guys. It will be up by within an hour or two, so don't worry about it. And one more thing to add on before I end my session for the day. This is because you have access the index that is not in the array. This is what I mean by accessing n, Himanshu. Okay. And yeah, adding to something now, we have our mock test up and live now. So you can go ahead and take it as well. It will be live till 7 p.m. tomorrow. So it's just a mock test. Don't worry, we are not judging you anything on that. So go ahead, give the test, see where you are, how much you are able to solve, so that you have good 5-6 days to practice. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much it from my side. Thank you. Hope to see you soon all in the main batch. The mock test is already live on the site. You can go ahead and click on the link. You will be redirected to the place. And the test will start from day after tomorrow, most likely. Yeah. Okay, Twinga, I'll take this up to the team. They'll work on it and we'll get this up as soon as possible. Don't worry. By the time your class ends, we try to make the site work. Don't worry. We'll be having Ritvik real soon. So you have a couple of minutes break. Go drink water, freshen up, and he'll be taking more questions for you for the day.
Hello everyone, just give me 2 minutes. We can start the class. Hello, good evening everyone. I think we can start. Voice is clear and audible, right? No issues? Fine. Okay. So, okay. So I have a very small topic to cover, which is functions. बहुत ही छोटा सा topic है, right? And then we can move to doing questions. ठीक है? And one more thing that let me just remind you. Uh, Most important thing that you have your mock test that is going to go live and it will remain live till 7 p.m. tomorrow. Okay, so do not forget to attend it. We have a mock test and I guess it will go live after the session or it would already have been live, so you can attend it anytime uh, of your choice, and it will remain live till tomorrow evening 7 p.m. Okay, so try to attend it before that time. Okay, gets live. Okay, if it is live, it will be live till 7 p.m. tomorrow. So try to attend it before that time. Okay, let's start. Tomorrow's recording is planned. Uh, is it happening for everyone? Did you not get yesterday's recording in the notes? Uh, Everything? Okay, I'll see that if we can get the recording of today by tonight. Okay, because it takes some time for processing and it gets delayed. It's totally black. Okay, let me just check. Let me inform and if informed it. Uh, okay, we'll check if we can re-upload or we can do anything. I guess the recording will be there for sure because it's get recorded. If there is any quality issues or something, we'll get it fixed. Okay. let's quickly start with very small topic, that is functions. Let's quickly sum this up. So you just need to know somewhat about functions. Okay. We need scanning. Let me just write scan. So, what is functions, right? What is functions? We learned about array, we learned about data types, we learned about everything. So I'll revise array, I'll revise all of the topics, and we'll do some questions on arrays and if else as well. Okay, don't worry about that. There is only one topic that I want to cover, right? So that I do not leave it for the end and I have to cover it in phase, right? So I want to cover it slowly. So we'll use 15-20 minutes, half an hour to cover this topic completely, and then we can move to arrays and practice questions. Okay. Okay. So what is a function? So okay, we understood data types, we understood variables, we understood everything, right? But now what is function? Right? With the next topic is function. So basically, till now, how we were writing code? We were writing code, all the code inside this main, right? Inside this main, whatever this curly bracket, inside within this curly brackets, I told you to write your code, right? I told you to write all your code inside this curly brackets. Why I told you to do this? Because I told you and you followed this, and this is the way the code runs, right? But why the code runs in this particular way, right? So the code runs in the order of function. So the code searches for the thing known as main. And what is this main? Main is a function. Okay? One example of a function is main. So main is an example of function. Okay? Okay, please check the recording is working fine. Okay, please check again. The recording should be fine. Okay. Okay. Sound is not clear. There again. Is it not clear for everyone? Clear? Yes, clear, fine. Please check once your connection, right? Is there any problem with reading the brackets? Yes, there is no problem. Okay. Okay. So let's start. Okay. Let's everyone try to focus on this. We'll try to quickly do it so that we get a lot of time to practice questions. Okay, because this is concept. We don't have too many questions on this. Okay, so I want to spend time on practicing questions because that will help you on your mock test and your initial rounds as well. Okay. So what is functions? So the first idea of function is basically we can so one example of function is main function. Right? What does function do? Function runs a code. Function has a code. Let's say if not runs a code, function has a code. Okay. Now, whenever we write code, we'll not write all of our code inside this main function, right? We have so many large applications. We have so many large softwares. We have so many large code to write, right? If we want to write thousands or 1 million or 10 lakh or 100 lakh lines of code, we'll not write all of them inside this main function, right? We should know how to break our code into small parts, right? So breaking our code to small parts, we need something known as function. So functions has code which helps to break our large code into small parts. It helps us to break our large code into small parts, and this small parts we can reuse the small parts. Reuse, and second advantage is I wrote it functions as code. First point, which helps us to break our large code into small parts. Okay. Second, functions uh, helps us to reuse the code. Okay, if we write a code, it helps us to reuse a code. Okay. One example of function is that we see is a main function. Okay. Okay. Before I go to any further on this, yeah, I'll explain about functions. Let's just try to see how a function will look. So we need to provide a few things. So we'll provide Okay, let's assume this is okay. I'll no sir. Okay, one is known as return type. The function has a return type. This is the syntax of writing a function. Okay, then the second thing is we want to have give it a name. Then we'll give it list of parameters, and you might get confused by seeing all these terms, but these all are very easy to understand. Okay? Please don't get panicked by seeing these names. Okay? And then last thing is body of function. Okay, so this is how we define a function. We have a return type, we have a function name, we have a list of parameters, and then we have a body of function. Is the main function following the same thing? Yes, main function is also following the same thing. Which is the return type? This void is the return type. What is the function name? Function name is main. What is the list of parameter? This is a list of parameter which is taking an array. Okay, so this is an array. We can write an array this or this. Right? Both are same. We understood we can write array as this. So this is an array which is list of parameter. We can write an array. We can write a variable. Whatever we want to write. The main function takes an array. Right? And next we have body of function. What we want to do inside this function. इस function के अंदर हमें क्या करना है? ठीक? So this is how we define function. This is the definition of function. This is how we syntax for defining functions. Okay. Okay. Now, if we define functions, will our code run? If I define functions, if I define 10 or different 100 functions, will whatever code inside this function will run? No. If I define 10, 100 functions, the code will not run. I have to write a call to this function that I want to run this function. And where will I write? I'll have to write that inside this main function. Okay. I'll have to write this call that inside this main function, call this function. Whatever function we have created, call this. Let me just try to show you by creating a function. Okay. So let's say we want to create a function. Okay. So for now, we'll give it to these two things, which is will not understand what these two things are. We'll later understand from where these two things are coming. Basically, these are coming from OOPS concept. Okay. So we do not understand OOPS concept, so we'll assume that we have to write these two things. Okay. Apart from this, rest all we have to follow this syntax that I gave you. So first thing is return type. Return type can be integer, boolean, string, float, double, whatever you want. Okay. What does static and what does public mean? So these are OOPS concept. If we get time at the end, I'll explain. For now, we'll just assume you have to write this at the start of function. Okay. What is return type? Return type is basically. Let me just write out everything. Okay. Return type क्या होता है? Return type is basically a data type. Okay. You can write any data type as a return type. Whatever data type you want to return from this function, जो भी function value return करेगी, whatever value this function returns, we can write it as a return type. If the function does not return any value, if the function does not return any value, we can write the return type as float. So here in the main function, we are not returning any value, so we are writing as float. Okay. See the data type. Only thing to notice, no return type, we can write, for no return type, we can write void. If the function does not return any value, we can write it as void. So let's say we want to return a value. Okay. We want to return a boolean value. Let's say. And we want to write a function, then we can give a name. So let's say we want to give a name check even. Okay. This function checks whether a given number is even or odd. Okay. We are taking a number as so next thing is function name. We can give it any name as whatever we like. Function name, any name following same thing, variable naming convention. So anything you want to name out, object of a class, a function name, right? Whatever you want to give will follow that variable naming rules that I gave you in the very first class. That it should not contain any special character. It should have only underscore in it. It should not have any special characters. It should not have space in between. All those rules that I gave you, it is case sensitive. All those rules will follow. Okay. Next is list of argument. List of argument. Why we call it as list? Right? Why we call it as list? So this is comma separated variables. If you want to have variable or variables, you can have. If you want to have a single variable, you can have it. If you want to have multiple variable, you can have it as int A, int B, int C. And you cannot have int A, comma B, comma C. This is not allowed. Okay. but this is not allowed. Okay, don't write it in this way. This is not allowed. Okay, I'm telling right away. This is not allowed to write the variables in this order. We have to write the data type in front of every variable. That this is integer, this is character. Whatever way you want to write, whatever variable you want to take. Okay, I'll go slow. Okay, I'll slow down. So first thing is, what is a function? Function is basically a small piece of code that can do a small work. एक छोटा सा code है that can do small work. What we are writing this function for? ये function क्या करेगा? This function is going to check whether a number is even or odd. Whether a number is even or not. Okay. This function checks whether a number is even or not. So what if I want to check a number is even or not? What I'll receive in parameter? I'll receive this number as parameter. I'll receive this number as a parameter. Then I have to check whether this number is even or odd. In this function, in order to define this function, I told that assume these are the two words that we have to write always. Okay, apart from this, what we have to write? That will look. So apart from this, we have to follow this sentence. We have to give a return type. Return type can be anything, right? So check even. Check even. If I want to check a number is even or odd, what it will return. If it is even, it will return true. If it is odd, it will return false. Right? So that's why I gave it to boolean. Boolean is the best way. Even का मतलब any number that is divisible by 2 is even. Any number that is not divisible by 2, that is odd. Okay. Next is, so this is a function. Okay, public static. For now, just think of this is something which we have to write at the start of the function. Ignore it for now. Okay, later we'll, if we get time, we'll explain why we are writing this. What does this mean? Basically, this is coming from OOPS concept, and there are a lot of concepts to understand in order to understand this. So that's why I'm skipping it. And I can guarantee you'll not get questions related to this on your initial rounds. Okay. Why we use void? Okay. Let's say if a function does not return anything, right? It is not necessary that a function will return something. Okay. If we do not want to return anything from the function, we can just use void. For example, main function only runs a code. It does not give us anything in return. It does not give us anything in return. So we write it as it will not give us anything in return. Okay. Voice issue again. Just a second. Is it better now? Clear? Yes. Chalo. Okay. Okay. Let's continue. Okay. So what is the logic to check if a number is even or odd? It's very simple, right? How we know to check the number is even or odd? We simply divide it by 2 and we check if the remainder is 0. Right? This we have done 2, 3, 4 times till now, and we know how to check a number is even or odd. If a number is divisible by 2, we know that it is even. I will not print that it is even. I'll just return that, you know what, this number is even. I'll return 2. Okay. Or let's say if I do not want to return, let's first assume that I just do not want to return. I have a void. Okay, let's say I want to define something as void. I do not want to return any value. I can simply print it over here. System.out.println. Let's say it is even. Okay. 0 is a even number. Yes, 0 is a even number because 0 is divisible by 2, right? Otherwise, it is odd. Otherwise, we can print that system.out.println. We can print that it is odd. Okay. Okay. Or instead of writing it is, I can write a plus. Right? I'm just displaying this. We understood how to display this, right? Using plus. So I'm displaying a is even. Otherwise, a is odd. Okay. So I've written a function where I'm passing a number. I give this function a number and I'm checking whether this number is even or odd. If this number is even, my output will be it is even. Otherwise, it will give a is odd. Okay. Now I defined a function. Now, what was the use of defining this function? Why can I not write this code inside this main function? We can write it. हम लिख सकते हैं इस code को main function. We can write this code in the main function as well. But only thing is, let's say we have millions of lines of code. So we don't want to write everything in the main function. We just want to break it down into small parts. Right? So that's why we create functions. The first thing is we want to break our large code into small parts. And this also helps us reuse our code. For example, if I give you 3 numbers, right? Let's say int a is equals to 5, b is equals to 10, c is equals to 15. if you have to write the same thing, yeah, if I tell you to check whether these three numbers are even or odd, what you will do? You'll write the logic of all these three. These you'll copy this 3 times, right? But instead, if you create a function, what you can do? You can just do check even pass a. This function will check whether it is even or odd, and it will print it. If you want to check it even for B, you can just do it B. If you want to check even for C, you can do check even C. Right? And it will tell you whether this number is even or odd. Now, if I run this, we are getting the output. If 5 is odd, 10 is even, 15 is odd. Right? Let's see a few questions. Main function not giving any return under the code, we write it giving the value, then it's void type function, right? We write it giving the value, then why it's void. So returning means not displaying in console. Okay? This function is also displaying something in console. Displaying something in console is a different thing. Returning something is a different thing. So I'll explain what returning means. Okay? So this function is also displaying something in console. Is public static permanent to write in every function, or there is any other thing that we have to write? So there are options that we can write. Say this is not permanent, we can remove it from here as well. Okay. For now, just write it as we have defined main function. Okay. So to avoid any confusion. Okay. Assume that we'll have to write this before every function. Okay. Return wala concept I'll explain. Firstly, tell me got this idea. So basically, if I have 3 numbers, if I have to check whether a given number is even or odd, okay, and I have to do for 3 numbers. So what I'll do is I'll write the same code again. If A percentage 2 double equals to 0, A is even, else A is odd. If B percentage 2 double equals to 0, B is even, otherwise B is odd. If C percentage 2 double equals to 0, C is even, otherwise C is odd. Here, instead of doing that, what I did was I gave the value, whatever I had in A, B, and C, I just passed it to this function. I defined a function where I'm giving a value that this variable has a value, right? So, and one more thing, do not confuse this A variable with this A variable. These two are completely different variables. Okay, this two A variables has nothing to do with each other. Okay, you can write a different variable altogether for this, let's say num, and that will also work fine. Okay. So it is simply passing the value, whatever I have over here, to this variable. Okay, whatever value I have in this variable from where I'm calling, it is simply passing that value to this variable. Okay. Line number 15 to 20. I'll explain this in Hindi, just a second. How to create a function. Okay. So syntax is simple, right? Syntax यही है कि firstly write a return type name. If you have a return type, I'll explain return type. For now, let's assume that there is only one return type, void. Next is function name. Function name, we can give any name, right? Any name as long as it follows variable naming convention. Next is what is the work that I want to do in this function. If you figure out that what is the work, let's say I figured out that I have to check whether a number is even or odd. Okay. So I gave it one number, right? I gave it input one number. Let's say I want to define a function which finds the sum of 2 numbers and returns it. Right? Check even is our choice, right? You can give it any name you want. Okay, this is just like naming a variable, right? I told you here, right? And any name following the variable naming rules, you can give it to the function. Whatever name you give it, you can use it. नहीं concatenation जरूरी नहीं, कुछ भी जरूरी नहीं है, right? So this I have written just to display it. You can write it however way you want. It is even or just display the num is even or something, whatever you want. Okay. In function there is no need to use scanner. If you want, we can use scanner. Right? If you want to take the input from user, let's say here, if I want to take the input from user, I can use scanner. Inside the function, if I want to take input from user, I can use scanner. So function is nothing but writing some part of code that you should have written in the main function outside the main function. Okay? Every other thing remains same. कोई special child नहीं है, there is no special child of this. This is a function कोई special code नहीं है. ठीक है, जो code हम main function में लिखते हैं, whatever code we used to write inside the main function, this will also follow the same thing. If you want to write a for loop, if you want to take user input using scanner, everything will follow the same thing. Okay. Where we used to give parameter, it's special as mandatory to give a data type like It is not compulsory to give this parameter. Okay, if you want to skip this parameter, if your function does not take any parameter, if you do not want to have any parameter of the function, you can skip it. You can just write it as empty bracket. Okay? If you do not want to give any parameter to the function. So let's try to define few functions and you will understand. Okay? Can we write only num? No, no, no. We have to write the data type, right? You have to write the data type what this num is going to be. Why we use functions, right? मैंने रीजन लिख दिया यहाँ पे. So function, so first thing we use is कि let's say we have a very large code, बहुत बड़ा code है हमारे पास 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 lines of code है. So not write everything in one file. एक file में तो लिखेंगे नहीं, we'll write everything. जैसे हमने एक file में main function के अंदर लिख दिया. So how will we able to read? हमें पता कैसे चलेगा which part of code which doing which work? How will we know which piece of code is doing what work? Right? In order to distinguish which piece of code is doing what work, we divide it into functions. Now seeing this, we do not have to know, let's say I will write the same logic here 3 times. It will become lengthy, code will become large, and every time user will come and see, okay, this is finding even. Now here I just created a function check even. I named it that this function is checking even. You can give it any name, right? This check even, right? And here we can see that, okay, when I write this, so if I read this, I'll be able to understand, okay, I'm checking this number is even or not, right? By plus sign with num. So if you want to display a variable and a string in a single println, you can write the variable name plus the string. Okay. So this is something which we did earlier as well. So if you have a variable, you want to display a string in the same line itself. So you can write variable plus string, whatever string you want to display. So this is taking the value and the string. Like why we cannot write it as like this? If you write it as like this, so it will display it as num is even. It will not display the value. Just check. Because when I run this code, you see where I've written num is even, it is not displaying its value. It is displaying num is even. And what is num? I don't know. Right? Whoever is running this code, he doesn't know any num. So what is this? So instead of this, we should write it as like this. Num is even. So num will get the value. If you write anything outside the double quote, it will give the value. If you write anything inside a double quote, it will get printed as it is. Will we create function or they are inbuilt? We create functions. Can we use loop inside the function? It is, you can use everything that we understood. Okay, scanner, loop, if else, whatever we understood, you can use everything. Okay, let me show you a few more examples. Okay, so let's do a sum. Let's write a function which will give the sum. Okay. So public static. Let's say we want to return the sum. So what is sum going to be? So I want to sum 2 numbers. Okay. I want to write a function which can sum 2 numbers, and it returns me the sum. So what I can do is I can find the sum, that int s is equals to a plus b. This is the sum that I find, and I can return s. Okay. So basically, whenever I will write a return, whenever I want to write return, whenever I want to return something from the function, I can use this return and write whatever I want to return. Now the data type of whatever I write over here should match with this. Okay, so that the function knows that I want to return an integer. Void लिखेंगे नहीं. Void is not in syntax. Void is, this is, I did not write it as void. You don't always need to write it as void. It is return type. What is the value that you want to return from function? Here we were not returning anything, right? If you do not want to return anything from the function, you will write void. If you want to return something from the function, you will write whatever data type is of the value that you are returning. So here we are returning s. So s has a data type int, right? By return check even a and check even b in other function. So we wanted to check for 2 different variables, right? 2 different variables के लिए हमें check करना था whether a is even or b is even, c is even, right? So I wanted to check for all 3 variables. So I wrote it. Now whatever value is inside this variable, that will get passed to this num. Okay, that will get passed to this num. Now num will check whether this value is even or odd. So note that whatever value is inside this variable, that gets passed to this num variable, whatever we write over here. Okay. Is return written instead of system.out? No. How to understand to what is the return in last? So we'll know, right? We'll know what we want to return. Let's say I want to find the sum of 2 numbers. So what is the sum of 2 numbers going to be? sum of two numbers. If two numbers are integer, sum of two numbers is going to be integer. Vaibhav, since this is your first class, I'll strongly suggest please watch the recordings of previous class. I can understand that you will be seeing everything would be going overhead, right? Please watch the recordings and then try to watch the session. You will be able to understand. Okay. Okay. So let's say we defined a function where we pass two values and this function returns me the sum. Okay. Now let's say we want to run this function. The sum, we can give it two values. Let's say 23, 78. Okay. Now, if a function is returning something, we can store it in a data type of whatever we like. Okay. It can be anything. Let's say we want to store it in a variable h. Okay. So I'm calling a function sum. I'm passing it two values. Why? Because this function is taking two values, a and b. It wants two values. One it will store it in a, other it will store it in b, right? And then it will go inside the function. It will try to find out the sum of this, store it in s, and return s. Since it is returning an integer, I will write it that the return type of this function is integer. Now, wherever I will call this function, I will previously this was returning void, so I will not receive any value from this function. When this function was returning void, I will not get any value from this function. Now this function is returning an integer, so I will get a integer. Okay, clear? If I want to print this over here, I can print it. Right. So why will I receive this? Let's say I want to print it inside the main function. I don't want that function to print it. I want to print it inside the main function, or whatever I want to do, I want to do it inside the main function. Right. So I can print the sum over here. Right. So I'm getting 101 as sum. Now, if I want to find sum of any two numbers, I can pass those two numbers over here, and that will give me the sum. Now you will say, okay, sir, why will we create a function to find sum? Right, we can just write 23 plus 78 and it will give me the sum. Why to touch my nose backwards if I can touch it directly right from front? So we'll not write the function to find sum, right? This is just to explain. Let's say we will write a function to check whether a number is prime. Let's say we will write a function to return, let's say we'll write a function to print all the factors of a number. Let's say we will write a function to write the table of any number, right? If I give a number, it will print the table of that number till 1000, like we did yesterday for 8, right? So same way we can define functions to this any kind of, right? Can we print system? Yes, we can do. Yes. So this is a good catch. If you want to not store it in a variable, can we print this system sum 56, 556, 67? If you want to print this directly instead of storing it, you can do that. Okay, because this is returning something. This is returning an integer. It will be able to print it. But if you do the same thing for a function that is returning void, it will not work as expected. Let's say I want to give it 67 to check 67 is even or odd. So you see, this is throwing error. Okay, void type function not allowed here. Right? Anything that returns something, you can write inside println. But if a function returns void, you cannot write inside println. Okay. Let me write a function returning something can be written inside system out. Okay. Void functions cannot be written. Okay. No. Void returning functions cannot be written in system. Okay. What the idea of functions, everyone? Just we are trying to break our code into small parts, and how the small parts will look like. SU वाला term एक बार बताओ. SU वाला term क्या? What is this SU? SU is just storing the sum. SU is a variable, right? SU is a variable. You can give it any variable we want. Let's say we want to give it C. Or C already exists. Let's say we want to give it E. So we can give it any variable. This function is returning an integer, right? So integer since this function is returning integer, we can store it in an integer variable. If the function will return a float, if a function will return boolean, we can store it in a boolean variable. अच्छा, static और public को please ignore for now. ठीक है, I will not be able to explain that in what does it actually mean, because we'll need to know a lot of things in order to understand this. We need to know what class is, we need to know what memory is, and ठीक है, we do not know any bit of that, so let's skip that. Yeah. Can we return two answers? No. A function can strictly return only one thing. ठीक है, this, let me write this. A function can only return one thing. One value. Okay, a function can only return one value. Okay, we cannot return. So can we return array from function? So array, there is a special catch. Okay, so let me just show you. Okay, let me just show something about functions. So one unique feature of functions. Okay, can we write system.out.println? Yes, we can write. If we want to print e, we can write system.out.println e. Right, so this will work. E is a variable which is storing a value, right? Which is the sum of these two numbers. We can write it. It will print it. Actually, I wrote something over here. Let me run this. So it is printing. Works fine. Okay. Achha, before I move forward, anyone any doubts on this? Returning something from function, not returning anything from function. Clear? Not returning, will write void. Whatever logic we want to write inside the function, we can write. Any argument, anything you want to take, you can take it over here. Function name, whatever name you want to give, you can give, right? Whatever name you want to give, you can give. If the function does not return anything, you want to print everything, whatever operation you do inside this function, you can do void. If the function returns anything, you can write the data type of whatever value it returns. Here we are finding sum of two things. So we return value is integer. So we wrote integer. Okay. This much is the basics of functions that I want you to know. Okay. Clear? In coding test, ask any questions on function based. So you can basically write the entire code in main function. Okay. So there is no check that will check whether you have written the code in a function or whether we have written a code in the main function. Okay. But I'm explaining this because this was written in the initial curriculum that you should know. Maybe you can get questions in your initial screening on this, or maybe in the online round, you may directly get to write the code of a function. Let's say you will be given, you have to find the check whether a number is even or odd, and you will be given that this is the thing. You will be given this. Okay, basically, you will be given this, and you have to write code inside this. Okay, you should know what function is, right? So basically, assume ki everything is taken. Someone took the input. Someone is giving this function the number. You have to just check whether it is even or odd without worrying about taking the input or something. Okay. Can we give the exam in other languages? I guess you can. You can in C++ at least, or C. Okay. String args kya hai? String args is the argument that this main function takes. Now, how our code works, right? How our code works, code kaise run karta. So the compiler runs this main function. Compiler main function runs karta, right? We can write as many functions, right? We can write check even, we can write sum, however functions we want to define, how many functions we want to define, we can define. So what compiler will do, compiler will come to the main function. It will start running code line by line inside this main function. Okay. Now, inside this main function, will run line by line. Whichever function call it sees, it will run that function. जो भी function call इसे दिखेगा, ये वो function को run कर देगा ये value के साथ. जब ये function run complete हो जाएगा, when this function run will complete, at that point of time, it will move to the next line. If there is another function call, it will make it and it will wait to complete, and then it will move to the next line. Okay. Clear? Functions clear? Idea? Yes, no? If function can return only one value, right? So you cannot return more than one value. What if you want to return array or something, right? Yeah, if the function does not return anything and you are doing some work for which you want to print the output, you will be printing the output inside that function, right? So this is important. Okay, someone pointed out. Thank you, I guess, Mohammed Kaf, right? So you have to always write the functions above this main function within this class. ठीक है? इस class के अंदर main function के ऊपर लिखना है functions. ठीक है? you have to write all your functions above the main function. Main function से ऊपर लिखना है, because the code will start from main function and the compiler till then have to know कि there is a check even there is a function with the name check even. अगर main function के नीचे होगा, so compiler will not be able to know that there is a function with the name check even. ठीक है, so it will not be able to run. ठीक है, it will show you error. So always write your functions above the main function. Why to write main class? Why to write main function? Because the compiler will start running the code from some point, right? Let's say हमने 1000 lines of code लिख लिया. We wrote 1000 lines of code or 10,000 lines of code. But the compiler will start from somewhere to run this code. तो randomly तो start नहीं करेगा कि let's start from line number 26 to run the code. It will not start that way. It starts running the code from this main function, which is compulsory to write. Okay. Inside this function, whatever order we have written the code, that is the order we follow in execution. How to return array, I'll come to that. Okay. Okay, last time, everyone clear on this? Then I can explain quickly about memory and array. Good. Easy, right? So every day we learn new concepts, and I feel that everyone is able to understand. So I also feel that the concepts are easy. What happens if we write the function below? Let me just show you. If we write the function below, in Java it is not allowed. In JavaScript it is allowed because there is a different reason that happens. Okay, it is working in here, but in few compiler it may not work. Okay, so I will write away warning you that it may not work in few compilers. It is working over here. Okay. So always try to write it above this to avoid any such scenario. And you will see a random kind of error that it is not able to find this symbol or something. So in order to avoid that completely altogether, just define it above it. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Sorry, I'm munching something because I'm very low in energy. Again, I have to speak for 1 hour more, right? Okay. Okay. Clear on functions now. The major question that we have here is key. The function can return only one value. Now, if we want to return, I will use scanner function. Kapil, just give me a second. Before going to scanner, let me explain this last concept. So, we can return only one value in function. Now, we can write arrays. We know that array is a list of value. So, how will we return array? ठीक है, हिंदी में एक बार एक्सप्लेन करते हैं. ठीक है, before moving to this part, let me explain it in Hindi. सो फंक्शन क्या है? फंक्शन बेसिकली हमने जो हमारा बड़ा पीस ऑफ कोड है ना, जो मेन में लिखते हैं 1000 10,000 100,000 लाइन ऑफ कोड हो जाएगा, वो तो बहुत बड़ा कोड हो जाएगा. सो इतने बड़े कोड को हम क्यों मेन फंक्शन में लिखते हैं और कैसे समझ आएगा? अगर मान लो मैंने तुम्हें 1000 लाइन या 10,000 लाइन ऑफ कोड दे दिया और बोला कि इसमें से यहाँ पे कुछ चेंज करो या कुछ करो, तो कुछ समझ नहीं आएगा कि क्या हो रहा है. सो फंक्शन इसलिए यूज करते हैं, बेसिकली हम अपने प्रोग्राम को छोटे छोटे पार्ट्स में ब्रेक कर देते हैं कि हर एक छोटा पार्ट एक छोटा सा काम कर रहा है. फॉर एग्जांपल, जैसे मैंने कोई इवेंट चेक करना है, तो इवेंट चेक करने का लॉजिक मैं यहाँ पे नहीं लिखूंगा, मैं एक फंक्शन बना दूंगा जो मुझे बताएगा कि ये नंबर इवन है ऑड. ठीक है. अगर मुझे सम फाइंड करना है तो मैं सम का लॉजिक यहाँ नहीं लिखूंगा, या फिर प्राइम नंबर फाइंड करना है उसको एक फंक्शन बना दूंगा और जिसमें मैं नंबर दे दूंगा कि बताओ भाई मुझे ये नंबर इवन है, ऑड है, प्राइम है, क्या है. राइट. उसके लिए जो भी मुझे लॉजिक ना वो यहाँ पे लिख दूंगा. अब फंक्शन को डिफाइन कैसे करते हैं? फंक्शन डिफाइन करने के लिए 4 चीजें लिखनी होती है हमें. रिटर्न टाइप, जो कि मान लो अगर कुछ रिटर्न नहीं कर रहे, कुछ भी फंक्शन नहीं बता रहा, उसी के अंदर प्रिंट कर दे रहे तो वॉइड. ठीक है. नेम, वेरिएबल नेम के लिए जो रूल्स बनाए थे हमने वही फॉलो करेंगे. आर्ग्यूमेंट, ये क्या होगा? हमें क्या वर्क करना है फंक्शन में, उसके हिसाब से हमें पता चलेगा. मान लो चेक इवन करना है तो एक नंबर चाहिए चेक करने के लिए, तो इसलिए एक नंबर पैरामीटर है. इवन ऑड फाइंड करना है, इवन सॉरी सम फाइंड करना है तो 2 नंबर चाहिए एटलीस्ट सम फाइंड करने के लिए, तो 2 नंबर पैरामीटर. 3 नंबर का सम फाइंड करना होता तो 3 नंबर पैरामीटर में होता. ठीक है. तो वो क्या ऑपरेशन करना है फंक्शन के अंदर वो हमें पता चल जाएगा. उससे हमें पता रहेगा कि क्या नंबर ऑफ पैरामीटर और क्या लेना है. ठीक है. अगर चेक इवन करना है तो एक इंटीजर नंबर लेना है और इसके अंदर इवन का लॉजिक लिखा है, सेम लॉजिक जो हम लिखते हैं हमेशा प्रिंट कर रहे हैं. अब इसको जहां से भी हम चाहे कॉल कर सकते हैं, कोई वेरिएबल कोई वैल्यू जो चाहे पास कर देंगे, ये हमें बता देगा. वो वैल्यू ये इस फंक्शन को दे देगा, ये फंक्शन रन करके बता देगा कि इवन है ऑड है. सेम अगर मेरे को 2 नंबर का सम फाइंड करना है, हम इसे अलग अलग नंबर्स पास कर देंगे और ये यहाँ पे सम करके हमें वापस रिटर्न कर देते हैं. अब रिटर्न में क्या होता है कि जो भी हम कुछ रिटर्न करना चाहिए, एक वैल्यू रिटर्न कर सकते हैं फंक्शन से. कि जहां से भी कॉल कर रहे हैं फंक्शन को, इसको बोलते हैं कॉलिंग, ठीक है, दिस इज नोन एज कॉलिंग ऑफ फंक्शन, ठीक है, ये होता है कॉलिंग ऑफ फंक्शन, दिस इज डिफाइनिंग ऑफ फंक्शन, यहाँ पे मैंने लिखा था सिंटेक्स फॉर डिफाइनिंग फंक्शन, राइट, सो दिस इज डेफिनेशन ऑफ फंक्शन, फंक्शन क्या काम कर रहा है वो हमने यहाँ डिफाइन करा, फंक्शन को कॉल कहाँ कर रहे हैं, यहाँ पे, जब यहाँ पे कॉल करेंगे तब ये फंक्शन में जो भी हो रहा है वो रन करता है, ठीक है, अब जो भी वैल्यू यहाँ पास करेंगे वो इस फंक्शन के पास चला जाएगा, वो इसको यूज करके जो भी अंदर ऑपरेशन है कर लेगा। अब रिटर्न करना है तो हम बस यहाँ से एक फंक्शन के एंड पे एक रिटर्न लिख देंगे, और रिटर्न के बाद कोई भी लाइन रन नहीं होती, ठीक है, लेट्स सी इफ आई राइट okay, this is for everyone, if I write a line system.out.println, let's say hello world, so this will not print anything after this, even if the compiler may throw error that this line will not run, okay? Yeah, so it is, see, it is telling me unreachable statement, right? This line will never run, so return will always going to be the last line in your function, ठीक है, रिटर्न के बाद कोई लाइन रन नहीं करेगी, रिटर्न के बाद कुछ भी, इफ यू हैव टू परफॉर्म एनी ऑपरेशन इन द फंक्शन यू हैव टू परफॉर्म इट अबव द रिटर्न स्टेटमेंट, ठीक है, so return has to be the last line in your function. While creating a function, so let me check the chat. After this you're writing in void, but why different name? Why can't we declare the name? Because we have to tell if this function is returning something or not. We have to tell that in the definition. We have to tell whether this function is returning something or not. If the function does not return anything, we can tell void. If the function returns something, we have to write that data type, that this function returns this value. Okay. Do we not need object to call the function? No, we do not need object to call the function. Okay. Okay, clear everyone? Covered in Hindi as well. Okay, let's come back to the topic. So basically, function is in a small piece of work. If you want to do a small piece of work, we can define it inside a function. We can pass it any value that we want, to, and the function will run with this value. Okay. Break. Return means call the value. Return means give back the value, right? Wherever I have called this function, so it will give the value back over here. And I can use a variable to store this value, or I can directly print it as well. Like, so here I am directly printing whatever this function is returning, so I'm printing it over here. Here I am storing it in a variable, and then I'm printing this variable. Okay. Not getting void and int. So void basically means function is not having a return statement. Function में return नहीं है. यहाँ पे कुछ रिटर्न लिखा है क्या मैंने, फंक्शन कुछ रिटर्न कर रहा है नहीं, सो फंक्शन विल हैव वॉइड. इफ फंक्शन रिटर्न समथिंग, यहाँ पे दिस वी आर फाइंडिंग सम, सो फंक्शन इज रिटर्निंग अ नंबर, वो एक नंबर रिटर्न करेगा, राइट? सो दैट्स व्हाई वी आर टेलिंग इट दैट इट विल रिटर्न अ इंटीजर, राइट? s is an integer, so we are telling that this will return integer. Here we can use an integer to store this, right? Here we are not storing anything, that will, because this is not returning anything. ये कुछ रिटर्न ही नहीं कर रहा, तो हम क्या स्टोर करें, right? Can we use return instructions? Yes, if you want to have only single system.out.println, basically you can return that value and you can print in the main function. So if you return that, you can print it in main function. If you do not want to return something, you can print it inside this function, right? If it is returning string, we can use string, right? If it is returning string, we can use string. Okay, that is also, yeah. So if it is returning character, use character, right? Char over here, we will receive it as character, right? So try to experiment all these things. Try to return string, try to return character, try to return float, right? Okay. For all of you who are getting some doubts, we have very limited time constraints of 8 sessions. Okay, I'll re-explain everything on the main batch. So don't get panic that I'll not cover this again in the main batch, or whoever will take you. Okay, whoever will take your main batch, he will cover all these concepts again and with more depth in more time. Okay, so don't worry on that. I'm just trying to give you an idea so that you can have your initial screening. Okay, chalo. There is only one more concept, and then I can switch to questions. And 24, it is return. So I've written return s, right? So return this value. Okay. Okay, scanner. ठीक है, चलो scanner ले लेते हैं. चलो, someone is asking scanner and scan again. So okay, scanner and arrays. There are 2 more things in function. 15 more minutes. ठीक है, चलो. Okay, let me just show you key. Scanner, यहाँ पे scanner से input ले सकते हैं. Let's just try to give scanner. Scanner SC is equals to new scanner. How many students in mean batch? Most likely all of you will get selected, those of you will qualify. So because we have a very large, like I guess like all of you who will qualify, they will get selected. Okay? So there is no competition that we have a limited number of slots. If you do well enough, you will for sure get the seat. Okay, so now if we want to take the number input from the user, we can, instead of giving this, we can take it from the user. Right. If I want to do the same thing inside the function, let's say I don't want to take the input over here. So let's do it by taking input from here. Okay. Let's run this. So it will first ask me this A input. Let me give it a value 23. It is taking A, whatever input I gave, it running this function with that value 23 is odd. And B is 10, so 10 is even. 15 is odd. Right. Same way it will work if I give input over here. Let's say I want to take the input inside the function itself. Okay. If I want to take the input inside the function, I don't want to write it. So let's say, let me do one thing. Let me write a function where will not return anything. Public static void even. Okay, let me define one more function even, which does not take anything. Here we can write scanner SC equals to same way, however, what we use to take input inside the main class, right? System.in. Okay. Here we can write int A is equal to SC dot next int. Okay. We can check if A percent, whatever logic we wrote, right? We can just write this logic over here. Yeah. Okay, instead of A, let me just take it in percentage. Okay. It will work the same way. Now instead of check even, I'll just call this as well. This instead of even, I'll check even. I'll just check even. Now even, let's say I don't need to pass anything, right? I just can call it. It is not returning anything, so I'll not receive anything. It is not taking any argument, so I'll not pass any argument. Yeah, we can print it, right? We can print it. We can see, we saw, right? We can print the sum directly without storing it anywhere. We can directly print it using system.out or printer. So here we are running the even function. Inside this even function, we are taking an input, right? We are taking an input which is num. So let me just give it an input. Let's say 109. It is telling 109 is odd. Right? It will work the same way. If you want to take the input inside the function, you can just write scanner SC inside the function. Okay, and there we can take the input inside the function. Okay, clear? Yes. So let's move to the next thing, which is arrays, right? So we understood everything. We understood. Let me just show you one thing. Okay, let's okay. Let me just comment everything. I think we got this. Let me just comment this as well. As this I don't want to comment. Let me comment this. We need to write scanner in every function. No, you can like you can use it if you need. If you feel the need of taking input inside the function, you can use it. It's not necessary. If you want to take input, you can use it. If you do not want to take input inside the function, you do not need to use it. Okay. So let's move to this part, which is sorry. Erase this. Okay. Next thing is, let me just show you something. Okay, let's take a variable int A is equals to 5. Okay. And let me pass it to a function. Let's define a function, let's say display. Okay. And I give this variable A. After calling this function, I just do a println A. Let me define this function. Public static void display, and let's say none. Okay. Let me just write this. Two times before update none. Okay. After date and num is, let's say I want to give it value 10. Okay. And here let me just print after call. Okay, what did I do? Integer icon, no, it is not returning anything, right? This function is returning anything? No. This function is not returning anything, that's why void. Here the function was returning something, that's why I wrote integer. If the function does not return anything, it will be void. Okay? So here what I've done, simple, right? I have taken a variable. I am passing this variable to a function which is called display. Okay? Inside this function, what I'm doing, I'm displaying this value before update. I'm displaying that this is before update, which it will display 5. And I'm changing num value to 10. Okay, so it will change it to 10. Then it will display after update, it is displaying 10. Okay, okay, that is fine. Now, can anyone tell what is the value that we'll see over here? What will the value after call it will display? 5 or 10? So we started with 5. You pass this value to display. Display is displaying it, then up changing it, then again displaying it, and then we are back again to the system.out.print. But it will print for 10 or 5, right? So 50% of you think 10, 50% of you think 5. So it will print 5. Okay. Now why it will print 5? See, it is printing before update, it is printing 5. So when we went to the function, it is printing 5. Okay, fine. Inside this, it changed to 10. Okay. After update, it is printing 10. Okay. And then after the call, it is printing 5. Why 5? So remember one thing, because whenever you are passing any variable or writing any value to inside this function call, that only the value of that will be passed to this variable. Whatever variable you have over here, only the value will be passed. This function cannot change this particular variable's value. इस variable की value को वो change नहीं कर सकता. ठीक है? For those of you who understand scope and all those things, scope and what does a function call by value, call by reference means, but for those of you who are new to this, so for simplicity, I'll explain. Keep, if you have a variable over here, you are passing that variable to function, and let's say inside this function, you are using it, you are changing its value, that will not be reflected in this variable. Inside the function, it will be reflected. Inside the function, if you change num to 10, it will print num to 10. It will, after this function, wherever you will use num, it will be value 10. But it will not reflect in this variable. Okay? Even though, okay, in order to confuse you, you may see that this is written as like A. Okay? So even though if I give the same names to them, even though these two variables have the same name, right? So then also it will not affect the output. Then also the output will be still same, because even though you give the same names, you can see after call it is still having the value 5, right? So even though it has same name or different name, that does not matter. Only thing that matters is when you call this function, it will only pass the value. Inside this function, if you after calling this function, if you refer this value after it, it will always have the value 5. So or whatever value it had at the time of call, it will not change this value. Okay, clear? Why is it happening? It is happening because whenever you pass this, whenever you call this function, it will only pass the value. It does not pass any, it does not tell that this is a variable which I am passing. If you update this, also update this variable. Right? It is not telling. It is just giving it this value. So that function does not know that there is a variable or something, right? So that's why you can see we call the function with value as well directly, and it was also working because only thing that is getting passed is the value. It has nothing to do with the variable. If there is a return, so if you return something that you will store in some other variable, right? If you return something that you'll have to store. So if you are storing that in A, means you are changing A manually. If you are storing that in some other variable, let's say B, so B variable will have that value. If you return num or whatever you do, but if you just call it or and you update it, it will not be reflecting in this particular variable. So that will not reflect over here. Okay. So return से भी affect नहीं होगा. All those things will not affect. If we remove int I equals to a equals to 5, it shows 10, right? Means if you remove a equals to 5, then what is this a? So it will throw you error. If I remove this line, so it will be error, right? This has no meaning over here. A variable is coming from here, right? A variable is this. So if you want to call it by directly by passing 5, that is a different story. Right? That is a different story. So वहाँ पे तो value ही pass होगा. In this scenario, only value is getting passed. But if you call it with a variable, so don't assume that it will also change if you change it in the function. It will not change because function में that is a different thing. Very confusing. A lot of you are having doubts. Right? In any case, can we get a updated out from the function? You cannot get in any case for now. Okay. We have ways, but we do not want to understand that. So for now, assume there is no way to update it. Okay. Only way, one trick that we can use is, let's say we want to update A. So what we can do is we can return num. Okay. So return A from here, and we can pass it integer. Okay. And then we can use the same A to store this value. This will update it. क्या करा मैंने? So we are updating it over here, and then we are returning this, and we are having integer as return type. So this is returning the value after updating, and we are storing it in the same variable. If you are store it in a different variable, so that variable will have the new value. If you want to update it, you have to store it in the same variable. If I run this, now this A will get updated. Okay, now A is getting updated after quality is also 10. But if you do not have return, you are not updating this variable in here, so the variable will not get updated. Here only in the call the value is passed. So be is variable में उस point of time पे whatever this variable will at that point of time will have value, that value is get passed to the function. Okay. What is return value? Return value is the value that this function wants to return. Okay. So this function is returning a, which is the value, and it is of integer type. Okay. Clear? Okay, so this from scratch. So this is what I'm trying to tell from scratch. So basically, in simple terms, if you pass any variable to a function, so that function cannot update that variable. Simple. If you pass any variable to a function, the function cannot update that variable until unless you are manually trying to do that thing. Right? You are returning that and you are trying to store that in it. What is return value? Whatever value you want to return. A function can return one value. Okay. A function can return only a single value. If you want to return any value from the function, you can return it. Now, what will we do with the return value? We can store it in a variable. Like here we did, we stored it in a variable. You can display it, or you can directly display this thing. Okay. Clear? Yes, no. Chalo, it is 10:09. Take a minute break, go wash your face, come back, have some water, right? And then there is one last thing. Next topic is passing arrays to functions, and then we can switch to doing questions. That will take 10 minutes. Take a 2 minutes break, everyone. So till the time everyone is on break, for those of you who want to understand हिंदी में बता देता हूँ, ठीक है? So basically function में जब भी हम एक वेरिएबल पास करते हैं, राइट? हम एक फंक्शन में वेरिएबल या तो वैल्यू पास करेंगे, यहाँ पे हमने वैल्यू पास कर दी थी डायरेक्टली, ठीक है, वैल्यू पास कर दिया तो कोई टेंशन ही नहीं है, वैल्यू पास हो गई, वैल्यू फंक्शन के पे गया, फंक्शन को जो लॉजिक परफॉर्म करना था उसने कर दिया, यहाँ पे दो वैल्यू आई, उसने दो वैल्यू को लिया, सम करा, जो करना था उसने कर दिया, राइट, और वैल्यू रिटर्न कर दी या फिर वैल्यू डिस्प्ले कर दी, वो सिंपल था। बट मान लो मैं एक वेरिएबल पास कर रहा हूँ, तो क्या ये वेरिएबल अगर इसको मैं फंक्शन के अंदर चेंज करूंगा यहाँ पे चेंज होगा? तो ये नहीं होगा, ठीक है। अगर मैं फंक्शन के अंदर वेरिएबल को चेंज भी कर दूं, फंक्शन के अंदर वेरिएबल में वैल्यू चेंज कर दूं, तो वो चेंज नहीं होगा यहाँ पे, ओके। क्यों नहीं होगा? मान लो इस डिस्प्ले फंक्शन में मैंने एक इंटे रखा है, ठीक है, अब इसको मैं इस फंक्शन के अंदर अपडेट कर दे रहा हूँ, ठीक है, तो ये फंक्शन जब भी कॉल होता है ये वैल्यू आती है इस पे, और यहाँ पे वो वैल्यू आई, मैंने इसको प्रिंट करा, फिर अपडेट करा, फिर इस फंक्शन में तो वो वैल्यू अपडेट हो गई। ये ए वेरिएबल डिफरेंट है जो फंक्शन में हो, फंक्शन का अपना वेरिएबल है, ये जो मेन में ए वेरिएबल है ना, ये डिफरेंट है। तो अगर मैं फंक्शन कॉल करता हूँ तो सिर्फ वैल्यू पास होती है, वो वेरिएबल का कोई मतलब नहीं है। तो अगर ये फंक्शन के अंदर अपडेट भी होगा तो हमारा जो मेन फंक्शन का वेरिएबल है वो चेंज नहीं होता है, क्योंकि कभी वेरिएबल नहीं बताता फंक्शन को कि ये जब भी हम फंक्शन कॉल करें तो फंक्शन कॉल को पता नहीं होता कौन सा वेरिएबल कहाँ से आया वैल्यू, उसको बस वैल्यू मिल जाती है, वो कोड रन कर देता है अपने अंदर, ठीक है। आई गेस बैकग्राउंड में थोड़ा सा म्यूजिक रहेगा ना, तो यू विल फील मोर इंटरेस्टेड, वो ज्यादा थ्योरी हो रहा है। So, I guess most likely you'll have a different format of the mean batch altogether, where you will get, if you want to, like, if you want to repeat the entire thing again, you want to learn it, you'll get that choice. Let's say you did 15 days of class and you felt that I want to recap everything. I want to attend all the 15 days again. So you'll get that option that you can attend the same 15 days class again by some other instructor as well. So all those things you'll get. So there is some structuring that is going on that will benefit you more. You'll get more doubt questions, more one-to-one mentoring sessions, and more of all of the mentoring, right? So we are like the Echo team is working on that. So like whatever comes up, you'll get to know. Okay. So I guess for the initial interview, you should know only the breadth, whatever I'm trying to cover. Even if you understand 50-60% of it, you should be able to clear. The questions are going to be simple, very simple. That like most likely in the level of what we have discussed, उससे ज़्यादा difficult नहीं होगा. If there is any issues related to the website is not working or something, please report to Rudransh. ठीक है, Rudransh को report कर दो. He will get it checked. ठीक है. So there is no slots. If you like do well enough, you will for sure get it. Okay? So like I guess every month there are 2-3 batches starting. So you will get slot in any one of the batches. Okay? So there is no fixed slot. Regarding the fees and all those things, you can confirm better with Rudransh. Okay? Rudransh will be the better person to answer all of those things upfront and your things, and you can check in the site as well. Okay. नहीं you in main course you'll get the proper notes. Okay, sorry for that. Uh, I try to give notes here itself, right? Because students will said you write it in the as comments, and we'll see this in code and like whatever comments you add. Okay, so that is what I feel prefer for DSA. But if you want, I can give notes. I have that notes. Okay. Does the variable in the main function or variable pass as the argument in the some other function having the same name not resulting in it? No. Why it does not result in error? This is a good question. So someone asked if there is a variable over here, and then we have the same variable name over here, right? So since these are two different functions, it will not throw error. You can have like same variable names in two different functions. Though different function में same variable name allowed है, but if you try to make the same variable in same function, it will throw here. Okay, so different variables में it is allowed. In main batch you will have the permissions to unmute yourself. You can ask it. right? I can even give you the screen share permission if you have any particular doubt or code or something. So at the end of the session, so yeah, all those permissions you'll have. 22nd to 25th July. So I know one mock test is there. That is like that you have to attend before 7 p.m. tomorrow. Rest Rudransh will confirm you on Discord. Okay. So let's start. So it was a yeah, good 5 minutes break. Let's continue. Like we have only 45 minutes remaining. I have one question that I have to do for sure, array rotation. So that I'll have to cover. Apart from that, we can do anything else. Okay. Only one thing is left in function, that is arrays. Okay. Let's say instead of new int, okay, I'm just writing an array. Okay. Let's say 3. Okay. I've declared an array of size 3. A of 0 is, let's say, 5. A of 1 is, let's say, 10. A of 2 is, let's say, 12. Okay. So I declared an array of size 3. I gave 3 values to this array. Okay. Yeah, in int a in main, int a in function environment, both are different memory. Okay. Both are different memory. Yes. So that is, both are different memory. That's why there is no, the compiler does not say that you have declared the same variable again. Okay. What is new int? New int basically tells us ki, give me 3 spaces in memory. I want to store 3 numbers. So that's why I'm telling it, give me 3 new integers kind of space that I want to store in memory. Okay. So let me just write one thing that I have to discuss today's class because I forgot. Size of data types. Okay. And these are 2 things that I have to anyway cover. Sorry. Yeah. So, and array rotation. Okay. Apart from this, if we get time, we can cover anything. Okay. Okay. So let's say I declared an array and have 3 variables in it. Right. I guess gave 3 values. Right. I'm storing 3 integers and I gave it 3 values. Now I can pass an array. How can I pass array? Simple. Int a. Right. Directly a. Just we don't need to even write array or anything. We can just write a. We can pass it. Okay. And let's say here I'm displaying after call a of 0. Okay. I'm displaying after call a of 0. And inside this, I'm receiving arrays. So in the definition, you have to write it int a square bracket to tell that this is not a variable, this is a array. Okay. Let's say in here, I'm printing a of 0. And then I'm changing a of 0 to store 10. Earlier, a of 0 was storing what? A of 0 was storing 5. Now, what is a of 0 storing? A of 0 is storing 10. After update, I want to print a of 0. Same thing, right? I am just doing it for array. Earlier, I was doing it for a variable. I created an array, gave values to this array, right? Pass this array to display function. Anything do I need to change in call? The call will look same. The call does not change. Inside this function, I am printing this value before update, which is a of 0. Then I'm updating a of 0, and then I'm again printing it. After coming back from here, I'm again printing a of 0. Now just look what will happen. Okay, let me run this. You see, it is printing up after call as well 10. After update it was 10 and after call it is 10. What is the value inside this function? It was 5. So in case of array, remember that the function can change the value of array. Okay, it does not happen with other variables, any other variables, integer, float, characters, double string. It does not happen with any other variable, but it happens with array. So if you pass a array in a function and you are changing that in array in that function, so the actual array will get changed. So actual array bana hoga wo change ho jayega. So if you are using that in this function, it will have the changed value. Okay, it is having the changed value which is 10. Whatever value you will give over here will have that value. If I update it to, let's say, 1000, so it will update it to 1000. Okay. So inside this, even after completing this call, if you print it inside here, so it will update. Okay. So only exception is array. Okay. So let me just write it over here. Any change to variable values will not be reflected in मेन फंक्शन, ठीक है, एक्सेप्ट एरे, ठीक है। अच्छा, लेट मी जस्ट रिपीट ठीक है। So what we did, so previously we took a variable, we passed this variable to this display function, we changed its value, and when after this function we are printing, it was printing whatever value it had over here. जो भी वैल्यू इसके पास कॉल से पहले था वही वैल्यू प्रिंट कर रहा था। फंक्शन में क्या हुआ इसको मतलब whatever happened inside the function, it did not care, whatever value it had before the function call, it was printing that value it only. But this will not happen in case of array. If you pass the array to the function and you change these values in array, so that will actually get reflected. So that whatever change you will make, whatever changes you will make, if you try to access the array over here, you will have the changed value. Okay, if you update the entire array will get updated in here. ठीक है, array का size change कर सकते हैं? No, whatever array that you have declared the size over here, that will be the size that you can have. Okay, that will be the size of this array. Okay, so the array size cannot be changed in the function call. You can change like whatever size you want to pass over here, you can pass it 5, 10, 3. Okay. Why is it only array? Why only array? Simplest explanation I'm trying to give कि compiler is lazy. ठीक है, simply assume कि compiler is lazy. When I gave him one value, it told that okay, I'll create one more copy of it. I'll keep one more copy. Okay, I'll update that. I'll do all the operation in the function, and then I will forget that I created a copy. Okay, if you are trying to use it again, you'll use it. But array is large in size. Right? Array is large in size. So compiler is telling, you know what, this is too large in size. I don't want to like create a copy of it. It may contain 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 numbers. Why will I create a copy of such large thing? So it does not create. Okay. So jokes apart, it does not create because there is a memory reasoning behind it. कि memory में this is created in a different section as compared to variables. Okay, so variable is created in a different section and it is created in a different section. Variable जो section में create होता है, that is known as stacks. Variables are created in a section known as stack. Okay, so and array is created in a section known as heap. Okay. So whatever is created in a section known as heap, the compiler does not create a duplicate of it. Whatever is created in the section known as stack, the compiler creates a duplicate of it. Okay. We'll understand memory, there will understand what is stack, what is heap, when to use what. And this also helps us with one more feature. Ki, let's say you wanted to return 1,000 values. You had an array, you want to do some operation and then you want to return the array. But you cannot return 1,000 values. So instead of you returning 1,000 values from array, now what the compiler is, you update the same array, change the same array, and you will see the changes in the main function. If you want to use that array inside the main function, use it. So this gives us an advantage. If I change the array inside the function, I don't need to worry about that value will not reflect in the main function. That value will reflect in the main function. Okay, clear everyone? Okay. You can remember this. So variables are created in stack, arrays are created in heap. So in array, if you change, it will reflect in main function. Variable does not reflect. Clear everyone? Yes, no, quick. So 50% if you got, you can rewatch this recording. Okay, you can clear. So again, so basically array may, if you change the value inside function, right here we are changing the value whatever we have in the array inside the function. So that is getting reflected in the actual array. Actual array जो main function हमने create करा था, that is getting reflected there. Okay. So if you display that value in main function, it will display the new value. It will not display the old value. Okay. Now here is no pointer. Yes, in Java there is no concept of pointer, but the concepts are same. Okay. Well, I'll explain how Java works without pointer in the main batch. For now, let's understand it does not create a copy of it. Okay. But if you print a of 1 will have the same value because we did not update a of 1. A of 1 को तो हमने update नहीं करा. If we did not update a of 1 will have the same value. Right? It is having the same value 10. If you update a of 1 over here, so that will get reflected. Let's say update a of 1 to 89. So that will get reflected over here. Yes, yes, you will understand how to compile programs, how this runs line by line. You'll have how memory works, everything will understand. Okay, so that will understand everything. So don't worry, there are a few things that, so for now I'm just trying to tell you in the most simple way I can. Okay, so that you can also be able to understand, you can also be able to code. Okay. Okay. Functions are only called as method. Okay, so the another name for function, if you hear the term method, so it is not, it is nothing but function. So function are also known as methods. Okay. How many days of DSA? Most likely 3 to 4 months. 3 months around. Okay, 2.5 to 3 months, or 2.5 months minimum. Okay. Chalo, let's move to the next topic. These are two quick topics that I want to cover. Size of data types. Okay, so we discussed about data types. So let me comment out everything. So I'll assume that everything is clear. If it is not, please watch the recording again. And if I get time at the end, I'll take your doubts, because I have to do these two things for sure. Okay, so we learned about data types, right? So data types take memory, right? Data types consume memory, consume space in memory, right? Memory जो भी हमारा memory है, hard disk हो गया, it is hard disk RAM, right? So the program runs in RAM. Okay, so this is one thing that I'm telling you. And remember this thing, the program, whatever we are running, right? We ran a program. Where did this program run? This program ran in RAM. Whatever variables, whatever array we created, all those values were stored in the RAM of my system. Now you will understand that system has a RAM, right? System has a memory space known as RAM. When we run the program runs there. All the variables, whatever we create, that is stored in the RAM. Okay. Next thing is data types. So each data type has its own size. Okay. So integer is 4 bytes. So character is 2 bytes. Okay. We understand, right? Kilobytes, megabytes of data, right? KB, MB, you understand your internet speed is 2 MB per second, 100 KB per second, 1000 KB per second, right? So similarly, this is the size. Okay. This media file is 10 MB, this media file is 15 MB, right? So similarly, the data types have 4 bytes, 2 bytes, or what is the memory that this data bytes take, data takes in bytes. This data types. So integer takes 4 bytes, float takes 4 bytes, float is 4 bytes, double is 8 bytes. What is left? Long. So long is again, I guess, 8 bytes here. Yeah, long is 8 bytes. Integer, character, float, double, long. Byte is 1 byte. There is one data type known as byte, which can store as 1 byte number. Short is, I guess, 2 bytes. Short is 2 bytes. This is also store numbers. What is boolean? Boolean is 1 byte, I guess. Boolean is 1 byte. Okay, please verify for boolean. So let me just check. Let's just Google it. Okay, boolean is 1 bit. Okay, so boolean is 1 bit. Sorry, so not 1 byte. It is 1 bit. Why 1 bit? Because it can only store two values, 1 and 0. So it can store in 1 bit. 1 bit means it can store 0 or 1. Right? Just 0 and 1. Okay. Integer, character, float, double, long type. I guess we covered all the primitive types, right? So these are the primitive data types which have their size. Now, what is the size of string and what is the size of array? So string or array depends. String depends on the number of characters it has. Okay. The string size is number of characters it has. Okay. I guess +1 होता है क्या इसमें? Is there any? Okay. So string is the number of characters it has, and array size. Array is firstly size of array into whatever. So number of character it has into 2 bytes, right? So each character is 2 bytes. So number of characters into 2 bytes. Then size of array into size of data type. So whatever data type array you have created, right? So if you have created integer, so integer is 4 bytes, right? So size of array, let's say you have created an integer array of 10 size, so it is 4 into 10, 40 bytes. Okay. Will it count space in size? Yes, it will count. So one space is again a character. I told you, right? One space is a single character. So space is also a character, so that will also take 2 bytes. Okay. Clear? So we did all the data types, right? Yeah. So if you get a question of what is the size of any of these data types, you can remember. What is byte and short, right? What does byte and short store? This stores numbers, small numbers, even smaller numbers are integers, so we do not use them even, right? They have no use practically, no one uses them since they are there as a primitive data type. So we know them. Okay. What is the difference between size and the length of the array? So size of the array, size, sorry, length here. Okay, let me refer to it as length. Okay, clear? Let me refer to this as length of the array. Okay, and to the size of the data type. Acha, one more thing, very important thing I forgot to completely cover in array. Okay, I'll just cover. Okay. Clear? Size of each data type. So you have the size of primitive data types that is given by the language, and then if you want to find the size of integer arrays, you can calculate. Okay. Array rotation will do, and then there is one more thing in array. Clear, everyone? Yes? No? We have half an hour array rotation. Yes, we can do it in 15 minutes. Where is size useful? So you may get this as a question. Okay. So that's why I informed you that yeah. So I told you about data types. What you forgot, I forgot about this data types. I forgot about this data types, and what I forgot in array, I forgot about the length function in array. In length, I did not mention about the length function, right? So in array, there is a function that you can use to find out the length. Okay. And that function is known as length. So let's say if I declare an array is equal to new int, let's say I give it a size 10. Okay. So I can use this length function. So find the length of the array. If you print a dot length, it will print the length of the array. Okay. So you can use this length function if you want to ever get the length of the array. Okay. Clear? String length, strings will not get question in the initial round, but in string also you have a function known as string dot length. But only difference is, let's say, yeah, in string also you can use this function, but there is a difference in how you call it. Okay, let me just write the same thing. System dot out dot length. In string you have to give a round bracket at the end of it. Okay, because this is a function, and in array this is a property. Okay. Same thing, in array you do not need to give a round bracket, in string you have to give a round. Okay, this is somewhat which is confusing in Java. I can blame Java for this. It has to be 9, but it's 10. The length is 10. It can store the indices. These indices is 0 to 9, but the length is still 10. It can store 10 numbers, that's why 10. Okay. And string count, it is 11. It is printing 11. Whether it has 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Space is also a character, so it is 6. Okay. And then this 5, 11. Okay. Space is also a character. You can see this is counting space. So what is the size of this string? So this is the length of the string into what is the size of this data type? Character data type is 2 bytes. That's why 2 bytes. So 2 into 11, it is 22 bytes. This string is 22 bytes. What is the size of this array? This array is 40 bytes. Each integer is 4 bytes, and then we have 10 integers, 40 bytes. Okay. Clear? Crystal clear? Can we see the size method? Yes, there is a size method, size of, I guess. I'll have to check with Java. Okay, I'm pretty much confused with languages. Okay, I use different languages. Okay, so there might be a size function. You can just Google it out. You'll get the name of the function. Okay, size of. Okay, yes, the name is I guess size of. Right. How 22 bytes? So it has 11 characters. Right, 5 characters for hello, 5 characters for world, and 1 space. So 11 characters. Each character is 2 bytes. So total 22 bytes. Okay. Without taking input from the user for arrays, how can we give inside the program only? So we can write a loop and give values, right? You can write a loop, give whatever value you want. You can write a of 0 is equal to this, a of 1 is equal to this. You can directly assign values, right? अगर value देना है तो a of 0. हाँ, bits और bytes में difference क्या है? So 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. ठीक है? So this is the difference. 1 byte is equals to 8 bits. So bit is a smaller thing. ठीक है? Bit is a smaller thing. Bit छोटा है. Bit is simply 0 1. जो मैंने starting में बताया था ना, a computer only understands 0 and 1. So this is the 0 and 1. So it uses 8 zeros and ones to create 1 byte. So if I want to store a number, so store an integer, I will need 8 4 32. 32 zeros and ones to store a number, integer number. If I want to store a character, I will need 16 zeros and ones to store a character. So 23 graduate, I guess you can join. You can confirm with Rutrans once. Okay, I guess you can join. Okay. Clear? Bits, bytes, and this. Okay, let's move to the what if we solve one question correct and 2 questions wrong. So please try to watch all the recordings. I'm pretty much sure that you can solve all the 3 questions or all of the questions that you will get. Okay, because we covered almost everything. Okay, if public static, you'll not get questions because that is something I need at least one class, and you also need some context to understand. I cannot tell this in hacky way ki kya hai ye. So we need to understand memory and we need to understand loops. We don't know. We don't know both. So that's why I'm for now just think of that we have to write this. Okay. And charts simply tells static means do not create a copy. कि function का copy create मत करना. Then you will create objects. Now objects क्या होता है, class क्या होता है, we don't understand. So we will not be able to understand static. अच्छा. Okay, that's why I'm skipping that. Okay, here size of is used. Yes, size of you can use. ठीक है, चलो. Apart from these generic questions, I have one last thing, arrays rotation. Let's cover that. Then I'll take your doubts. Okay. Okay. चलो. Last question is array rotation. I guess you have asked this in the previous class as well, right? चलो. So let's say we want to take an array. ठीक है, same way. Array a int a equals to size of 10. ठीक है. Let's give this array some numbers. ठीक है. Another way to giving array numbers directly is you can give them numbers directly in this curly bracket. Okay? If you give an array and if you want to give them numbers directly, then give the numbers in this curly bracket. That will also work. Okay? So this is a way of giving numbers to the array directly. If you want to give numbers. Now, how many numbers you will give? The first number will go to a of 0, second number will go to a of 1, third number will go to a of 2. Okay? Okay, I'll cover array in Hindi at the end. Okay? एक basic Hindi में I'll cover array. Okay, chalo. Now let me give it few numbers: 3, 2, 1, 0, 8, 9. Okay. I gave few numbers to this array. Now let's say whatever will be the length. Let's say n is the length of this array. I'm just using the length to find out the length of this array. Okay. You can count it and you can even figure out 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the array length is 8 and will come out to be 8. I'm just storing it in a variable. Now, what is my task is, let's say the user will give me a value k. Okay, user will give me a value k. K is equal to sc dot next in. Okay, user will give me a value k. Now, this k can be anything between 0 to 8. This length, okay, 0 to 8. Anything between 0 to 8, k can be anything between. Sorting you will not get questions on sorting, searching, all those things you will not get. Searching you will get. If you want to search something in array, if a number is present in array or not, what you will do? Inside a loop, you'll write if a of I is equal to that number, right? Which you want to search. So we will find out the number, right? So we'll see the user will give us a number which is going to be between 0 and 8. Okay, for now, let's just take it a number. It's ourselves. We don't ask from the user. We'll ask this user from the user. Let's say this number is 3. Okay. Achha, I'll explain. So we took an array. Okay, we took an array and we gave it values. If you want to give values to the array directly, you can give it in this particular way by writing it inside curly brackets and separating it by comma. The first value will go to a of 0, second value will go to a of 1, third value will go to a of 2, and so on. Let's say if I want to print system.out.println, let's say I print a of 2. So that it will print the third value, which is 3. Okay. So this is a way using which you can give values to array. Right? If you have values, you want to give them directly to array. Instead of declaring an array, then writing a of 0 is equal to this, a of 1 is equal to this, you can use this shortcut. So this is a shortcut to give values to array. Okay. Next, again, and so how it will be stored? It will be stored. This will be stored in 0. This will be 1. This will be 2. This will be 3. This will be 4. So on. Okay. Now the question is, let's say I'm given a value. Okay. So I have to rotate this array. Okay. Print 9. So what will this 9 be? So we have total 4 for 8 numbers. So 9 will be a of 7. So if we want to print 9, we can print a of 7. That will print 9. Ascending order, descending, no, it does not come in any ascending or descending. Whatever order I have given, the array will be in that order. Okay. Ascending, descending, no, you will not get. You will not get to sort the array in ascending, descending. A of -1 will be nothing, so that will be error. Okay. Anything apart from 0 to 8 is error. Anything apart from 0 to 8, if you try to print, the compiler will tell you that this is not. Okay, I have declared a variable. Okay, see, it is throwing me error. The index -1 is out of bounds for length 8. Right, that is telling me. So we can understand index का मतलब पता है, right? Length 8 है हमारा array का size and it is not able to write this. Why I write k equals to 3? Okay, so this I was trying to explain array. Now what is k? So let's say you are given an array and you are given a value k. Okay, and what you are asked is you have to rotate the array by this k. So rotate the array by k means like you should change the array from. So how our array looks like currently, it looks like this: 4, 8, 3, 1, 2, 0, 8, 9. You have to change the array such that the array becomes this: 1, 2, 0, 8, 9, 4, 8, 3. Okay. So basically, first 3 numbers you have to move it to the end of the array, and remaining array you have to bring it to the front. Okay. So this is what we have to do, and this is the question. Okay. So you have to rotate the first. You have to move the first 3 numbers to the end of the array. Okay. Clear? Question? Everyone understood? Everyone understood the question? Yes? No? Yes? अच्छा, think everyone कि how can you do this? थोड़ा सा सोचो, बहुत easy है. Trust me, it is very easy. Not understood the question? So basically, you are given an array. You are given a number. Okay, number is 3. Let's say the number is 3. K is the number of rotation. Yes. So number is 3. So you have to remove first 3 numbers from the start of the array and make it at the end of the array. These all numbers will become the start. If you remove first 3 numbers from the start, the remaining array will come at the first 0, 1, 2, 0, 8, 9, and these 3 numbers will go at the end. Okay. हिंदी में एक्सप्लेन करें, सो बेसिकली एक एरे दिया हुआ है और मुझे एक नंबर दिया हुआ है 3, मान लो कि एक नंबर दिया हुआ है 3. मुझे पहले से स्टार्टिंग से जितने भी नंबर है 3 उनको एरे के एंड में डालना है और उसके बाद जितने भी नंबर्स हैं उसको स्टार्ट में रखना है. ठीक है, बेसिकली एरे को 3 बार रोटेट करना है. 3 बार रोटेट करने का मतलब, इसको स्टेप बाय स्टेप लिखूं तो 3 बार रोटेट करने का मतलब क्या होगा कि पहले मान लो ये एरे चेंज होगा ऐसे, ये एरे ऐसे चेंज हो जाएगा, ये स्टार्ट में आ जाएगा और 4 लास्ट में चला जाएगा. पहला रोटेशन हुआ, पहला नंबर जो स्टार्टिंग में था वो लास्ट में चला गया और बाकी एरे फ्रंट में आ गया. राइट, स्कूल में होता था. राइट, whoever used to sit in the first bench and the next day they will sit in the last bench and the second bench will come to the first, third bench will come to second. Right, same thing. In the next rotation what we want to do, we want to make this the start and it will go at the end of the array. Third rotation में क्या करना है? When you will rotate it for the third time, you will get the result. Basically, if you rotate the array for 3 times, you have to print what is going to be the result. So I have rotated in one step. You have to, if you perform the rotation 3 times, this is step by step. Yeah. So leave this intermediate steps. Okay, we don't need it at all. Okay, I need the first result and last result. So let's say if I have to rotate this array by 3. Okay, let me just comment them. Let's say if I have to rotate this array by 3. So let's just look at the last step. Last step पर बस ध्यान दो. Okay. So what I am doing? So after 3, whatever these values are present, I am bringing it at the start of the array, and before 3, whatever is the first 3 value, that goes at the end of the array. Simple. So how to do this? Let's try to look. So let me create another array. Let me name it as t. Okay. Let me name it as t. You can name it whatever you want. Okay. What is the size of this? The size is going to be n. Why n? N is the size of this array. I found out that the size of this array is n. I am creating another array of size n. Okay. Okay. Now what I want to do? I want to put all the numbers starting from which index? Which index? What is going to be the starting? कौन सा number will come? Which number will come at t of 0? Which index number will come at t of 0? T of 0 में कौन सा number आएगा? बताओ. A of 3, right? A of 3 will come at t of 0. This everyone understands. ठीक है? A of t of 0 will get A of 3. T of 1 will get, which number will come at t of 1? A of 4, right? So t of 0 will have A of 3. Let's say t is my final array. This is the t. So t of 0 will have A of 3, right? Third index. T of 1 will have A of 4, fourth index, right? So let me just write it in a loop. इसको loop में लिख देते हैं कि int I equals to, I want to start with k. I want to go till n, right? And I want to integrate 1 by step. Okay. At every point, I want to do A of t of I is equals to A of I minus k. Why I minus k? Why did I do I minus k? T of I minus k will be A of I. Yes, sorry, I wrote it wrong. Yeah, by t of I minus k at t of 0, right? First, I want to find out 0, right? So 3 minus 3 is 0. It will run from, the loop will run from 3 to 8. So when loop will start from 3, so t of 0 will store t of 3. T of 1 will store, next iteration loop I will be 4, k will be still 3. So 4 minus 3 is 1. T of 1 will store A of 4. Okay. T of 2 will store A of 5. T of 3 will store A of 6, and so on. Okay. Student loop start with k minus 1. No, I want to rotate 3 numbers, right? 0, 1, and 2. So these 3 indices I want to skip. I want to start with the index 3. So I want to start with this k value, right? So skipping first 3 numbers make it 3. Okay. So if I want to create another array, so I created another array, which is t, right? Simple. I created another array. Okay. Now what do I want to do in this array? So in this array, in the first index, I want to keep the third index value, and t of 0 will be A of 3. Why 3? Because t of 0 is having the third value. Right? Sorry, index 3 value, which is the fourth value. I want to remove the first 3 numbers and put it at the end. So k equals to 3, which is ARR 2. Yeah, k equals to 3 means ARR 2, right? So 0, 1, 2, right? 0, 1, 2, these 3 numbers I have to put at the end. So k equals to 3 means the first 3 numbers in the array which has index 0, 1, and 2, I want to put them in the end of the array. Okay. So I want to skip them and I want to start from here. Whatever numbers I get, I'll just put them in the new array. So t of 0, I'll find out 0. How will I find out 0? So let's say I started the loop from 3 to 8, which is this A of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I want to store it in a different array. Now, inside this array, I'm getting t of 0. How am I getting t of 0? Just subtract, I'm subtracting k. Let's see, if I subtract k from 3, 3 minus 3 will 0. So t of 0 is equals to A of 3. So first, in the first iteration, I'll run this, and the loop will run second time. I value will be 4. So what I'll do? 4 minus 3, which is 1. A of t of 1 is equals to a of 4. Right? Simple. Second iteration, I value is 4. C of 1 becomes a of 4. Able to run it? Should I use a pen? Show it to you. Okay. Let's say first iteration mein I value is 3. Okay, first iteration I value is 3. Okay, sorry, I do not okay. K value is 3 always. K value is 3 always. K is not changing. Okay. Okay. First iteration I equals to 3. What does I minus K means? 0 is equals to A of I. A of I is 3. So T of 0 is equals to A of 3. This is what we wanted to do. Right? Okay. Second iteration mein I changed to 4. Okay. T of 4 minus 3, which is 1, is equals to A of 4. This is what we wanted to do. Third iteration mein it will change to 5. T of 2 is equals to A of 5. Right? Simple. Yeah. What is K? Why K is 3? So K is just a number, right? It can be 3, 4, 5, right? Yeah. Okay, we are not done. Is it? Did we solve the entire question? No, we did not solve the entire question. There is another part. So what else is missing? So we stored all the numbers of A of 3 to 8. But did we store all the numbers from A of 0, 1, 2, 0 to 2? How will we store it? Tell me. Now think of second loop. Second loop kahan se kahan tak run karega? From where it will run? How will I store 0, 1, 2? A of 0, 1, 2 into T. Yeah, second loop will run from I equals to 0 to I less than 2. I plus plus. Okay. So now I want to store A of 0, 1, 2, right, into T of something. T of something. So let's see. Let's everyone take a guess. What will be this? What will be this? So T of 0, 1, 2, 3, and this will show T of 2 will store A of 5. T of 3 will store A of 6. T of 4 will store A of 7. Why not less than equals to? Okay, sorry, yeah, less than equal to, sir. Yes. So we can write it less than K. Simple. Yeah. We can write it less than K. Yeah, I'll run this code once, right? It is less than equal to 2, right? Or less than 3. Okay, less than 3. That's all. Sorry, thank you for pointing that out. Sorry for that confusion. Okay. Yeah. What is T of 6? T of 6 is A of 0, right? T of 7 is A of 1. T of 8 is A of 2. Okay. So this is what we did. A of 0 to 5 we stored, that is 3 to 8. Second part is we are storing 0, 1, 2. How will we get 6, 7, 8? Tell me. Think of n minus k plus 1 here. What is n? N is 8. If I do n minus k, n minus 8 minus a plus 1, right? So this will give me this. N minus k plus 1. Think of this again. Try to look for it. So firstly, we'll have I value as 0. Try to run this loop. Firstly, we have I value as 0. What is this? N is 8. 8 minus 3, 5 plus 1, 6. We'll get this as 6. What is this? A of 0. Okay. 6 is storing A of 0. Correct. Next iteration, I becomes from 0 to 1. So this is changing. 8 minus 3. This is fixed. 8 minus no. This is n minus k plus I. I missed it. Let me just change it to plus I. Yeah. Okay. Someone, it is plus I. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. So next iteration it will change to 1. So it is 8 minus 3, which is 5. plus 1. N minus k plus I plus 1 होगा ना, so it is 6, then it will be 7. I starting from 0, 8 minus 3, yes, so it will be plus 1. यहाँ पे plus 1 भी आएगा. So first iteration is I is 0. Let's just try to run this and we'll get the idea. Let's just try to run this. Okay. One second here. Okay. So first iteration में I value is 0. Okay. What is this coming out to be? 8 minus 3. 8 minus 3 is 5. 5 plus 0 plus 1 is 6. And this is 0. Okay. Chalo, clear. 6 is storing 0. Next iteration will come to 1. 8 minus 3 is 5 plus 1. I is 1 plus 1. So 5 plus 1, 6 plus 1, 7. Okay. And this is 1. Okay. 130 and 135 confusion hai. So 135, just we are trying to do the same thing. This is next iteration will go on 2. You have to just think of this, right? ये तो हमने सोच लिया. A of I it will store. A of I is 0, 1, 2. This we thought of that it will store this 0, 1, 2. That we had to figure out these numbers from whatever numbers we have. That we had to figure out 6, 7, 8 from this 0, 1, 2. ठीक है? अच्छा, I'll tell you a trick in case you don't want to remember this. N plus n minus I. So for that it will be n minus n is 8 minus k is 3, right? So 8 minus 3 is 5 plus 0. So that will be t of 5 for the first run, but I have to store t of 6. That's for the first iteration. It is wrong. First, when it will become 2, it will become 8 and it will store 2. So this is one way to do it. Let me just show you the code and then I'll tell you a trick that everyone will be able to understand. Okay. If you are feeling this difficult, just give me a second. You will be able to understand. And now let's print this t wala thing. Okay, so t also has size n. We can run loop from I equals to 0 to n, and I can print t. System dot out dot println t of I. Okay. Let's run this. Let's run this. 8 is the length. 8 is not t's value. 8 में चल गया क्या? Did I go till 8? Okay. And minus 8. 8 minus 3. Oh, shit. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How is it going till 8? I made some mistake over here. T of 0 is equal to A of 3, T of 1 is equal to A of 4, A of 5, A of 6. Achha, A of 8 is not there. A of 8 is not there. A is still 7, right? Sorry, yeah. So this was correct, right? I missed it. Yeah. Okay. So there will be no plus 1. Yeah, someone who was pointing out, he was pointing was correct. Sorry for that. Yeah. So this will be only plus I. Okay, n minus k plus I. You don't need to write a plus 1 because sorry, I missed it over here. We have to write t of 5 as A of 0. So this will give 5 for the first run, n minus k. Second run it will give 6. Third run it will give 7. Okay, now if I run this, we'll see the rotated. If I took t of 8, yeah, t of 8 is not there, right? T of 8 does not exist. It exists from 0 to 7. Yeah, so now we get the output 0, 1, 2, 0, 8, 9 and 4, 8, 3. Okay, we get the output. So what we did, we stored the अच्छा horizontally print करते हैं. चलो let's print it horizontally. Print like let's print this horizontally. Yeah, हो गया. 1, 2, 0, 8, 9, 4, 4, 3. ठीक है. Once again, ठीक है. Let me just tell you a trick. ठीक है. Basically, what we did, firstly we tried to find out all these 3 to 7. We ran the loop from 3 to 7. Right? 3 to 7, we stored all these numbers. A of I into 0 to 4, right? T of 0 to 4. How did we find T of 0 to 4? A small trick to run this loop, I minus k. So this will give me when k is 3, it will give me 0. When a is 4, it will give me 1. A is 5, it will give me 2. So this is our stored T of something is equals to A of something. Okay. Next, we wanted to store, okay, I stored till A of 7, right? This is done. Now what I wanted to store, T of 5 is equal to A of 0, T of 6 is equal to A of 7, T of 7 is equal to A of 2. So I ran the loop from 0 to 2, right? 0 to 2. So 0 to less than k means 0 to 2. I ran the loop from 0 to 2. And then in here, A of I, again, it was clear we have to write A of I. Right side will be A of I, but left side was confusion. How will we get T of 5, 6, 7? So a loop was running from 0 to 2, and we know only two more numbers apart from this. Is apart from 0, 1, 2, we know only two numbers, that is 5, 6, and 7. So we calculated this by n minus k plus I will always give me this 5, 6, and 7. So starting I is 0, so n minus k is 8 minus 5, which is 8 minus 3, which is 5. 5 plus 0 is 5. 8 minus 3 is 5, and again when I will become 1, it will become 6. When I will become 2, it will become 7. Okay. But if we rotate the array 10 times, it will become the same array. If you give the k value 10, it will become the same array. Right? If I run this, it will become the same array. Somewhere it, okay, sorry, it is by 10. Yeah, so array length is 8. I can take it up till 8, right, over here, because I've used it in loops. Okay. So it becomes the same if you rotate it that same time. Right? If you rotate it after more than 10 times, like more than not 10, more than the length, so you should percentage it by length. Let's say my array is whatever length you give. Let's say I give it 56. I want to rotate the array by 56. So instead of doing that, just do k percentage the length. Okay? Whatever remainder you get, just rotate the array by that times. Okay? So do it percentage the n. Okay? So 56 is divisible by 8, right? So it is giving me the same thing. Let's give it 53. So 53 is not divisible by 8. So it will rotate, right? It is rotating. So 6 8 is 48. So and it is rotating the array by 5. Right? So 5 is the remainder, it is rotating the array by 5. If you rotate it by 5, so these 5 will come at the end, right? So array is 089 483 12. Okay. So thus do k percentage n. Clear? If you have to rotate the array more than the length of the array, you can do it percentage the length. Okay. Okay. Last one trick. Since those of you waited, right? So few people dropped by seeing this difficult question. Now I'll give you the trick that you can use. So if you don't want to do this calculation and this is you are finding it difficult, I'll tell you a trick. Right? Just use an index I is equals to 0. Okay. Just use an index at I equals to index 0. Okay. Just store. Now instead of calculating this, just store this index and increase this index at every loop. Okay, done. So I is no matter whatever this a of I is, t starting with 0, ind starting with 0, and the loop will run for the first time. T of 0 is equals to a of 3, t of 1 is equals to a of 2, t of 2 is equals to a of 3. So, right. So whatever is this value, right? Whatever is a of I, 3, 4, 5, and this is also starting from 0. So t of 0 is equals to a of 3, t of 1 is equals to a of 4. Right? ind I am increasing it every time. Right? And after this, and then when I'm using the same ind, so let's say here I stored till t of 4, right? In this loop, when this will loop will end, the ind will have a final value 4. Outside this loop, after again when I'm running, I'm trying to store this from 5, right? It will store till 4 and ind will become 5, right? And will change its value to 5. I'm starting with 5, I'm storing with 5, and then I'm updating this. Is this simple or previous one was simple? Which one you understood? Now if I run this, it will give the same. Okay. So waiting till the end always gives some advantage, right? So you waited till the end of the class, you got a trick. Okay. Try to see this question very specifically because I got this question to to share with you. Okay, so try to solve this question Try to write the code because you may get this question in your interview. Yes. So I'm not sure about an aptitude test. You may ask with Rutransh. So coding test I'm sure of. We'll have an interview, but aptitude you can have a look. Okay. Clear everyone, everything. So what are the topics that you have to cover? Data types, variables, if else, loops, arrays, functions. This much. Okay. And give the mock exam today or tomorrow. Like today, not tomorrow. Try to practice if else and loops. And try to see this basic question. Try to find prime number. Try to find factors of a number. Right. All those things, small things. Try to find the digits of a number. I gave you the trick. If you do percentage 10, that gives you the last digit. If you divide it by 10, that will reduce the number by the last digit. Regarding all the dates, deadlines, you can confirm once with Rudransh in Discord. He will be the better person to tell you about these deadlines. Okay. Clear, everyone? Yes, understood something from the last 8 classes? Okay, chalo. No, we cannot take interviews directly. You have to go through the test, right? So tests will be there for everyone. I don't see any more questions. Okay, for those of you who want to drop off, thank you. For those of you who have doubts, let me take 5 minutes more to take up your doubts. I went a lot of doubts. There is no aptitude test that I confirm. So that you can confirm with Rutransh. Right? Test, there is only coding test, but you can better confirm with Rutransh. Okay. Okay, so for those of you who have cleared the previous test in the previous batch, just confirm once with Rutransh whether you have to reappear for the test or you can basically directly go for interview. Okay, just confirm once. Can you pass overall array instead of a of 0? So where did I pass? So pass basically to the functions. I was passing the entire array, right? I was not passing a of 0. I was passing the entire array. Okay, I was just updating a of 0 and a of 1. Okay, passing the entire array. Okay. Have we got the answer 1? But we have to print 0, 1. So just add a 0 as string, right? If you have to print 0, 1, so add a 0 at the start. System.out.println. If you have got the answer 1 and you have to print 0, 1, so just print 0, 1. So this will print 0, 1. If you got 1 as the answer or whatever value variable, right? If answer is the name of the variable, right? You can print it this way. Regarding this test setup, webcam, all those things, please confirm once with Rudransh. Regarding anything for test and batches, when is your class is going to start or what is the strength of the class, all those things, Rudransh will better confirm. Okay. Coding test most likely will be simple, right? Very basic. It is not to test you whether you can do coding or not. It is to test you whether you are able to grasp some things out of what we learned in the initial activities. The actual class is going to be somewhat slower than this, but yeah, these are the only concepts that we are going to learn, right? So एक होता है ना कि basically coding whether I am able to do it or I am completely not able to do it, right? So ऐसा होता है. So it is just to check whether you are able to do it, some bit of it, or whether you are able to understand some bit of it. How to change line? So in order to change line, just do println. Yeah. Clear, everyone? Yes, no, right? I don't see any more doubts. Okay. Yes. So connect everyone with each other on Discord. Please help out each other. Please try to discuss with each other. That will clear all your doubts. Try to practice questions, right? For the remaining days you have. I guess you have few days for your exams, right? Notes will be uploaded. Yes, you will get regular notes. For now, just I'll share this entire thing that I have written. Okay, I guess only missed one of the class notes. Rest all I shared. Okay, and that you can see in the actual class you'll get better notes. Okay, so don't worry on that. No, tomorrow will be no classes. This was the last class. Next, you will directly have your Rudrans will inform you about your next steps. Please connect with him on Discord. Okay. If you want to change line, just use println, right? Just use println. If you don't want to print anything in that println, just print empty string. That will change the line, right? Just write out println, right? Yes. So if we have any small related doubts, just put it in Discord. Someone will help you. Okay. Yeah, Vaibhav, and what your question that you have? This was the first day. I know this would. I'm asking too much for you to watch 16 hours of recording for last 8 days. But please try to watch the recordings from the starting, because that is the only way to I can sum this up, because I cannot sum up everything within which I learned in 16 hours in 5 or 10 minutes. Even if I try to do, don't think I will be able to make you understand. Right. So just go through all the recordings once. Okay. So for those of you who enrolled already, I don't think it, so. These are mock tests, right? So you can ask with Rudransh, will not affect any of your work, anything. Okay. So recordings, I guess you'll it'll be there for you, right? By at least till the time you start main batch. So when you start main batch, these recordings will be there, but you'll also get the main class recordings that you will watch it from there on, right? So you'll start completely from scratch, again from Hello World, and in much more depth, right? So first 6, 7, or 8 classes may seem like a revision, but after that it will be everything new, right? And we'll do more and more complicated question and more questions on each thing. In I equals to 0, what is it? Lifetime. That's lifetime is the function. Wherever the function inside which, or whatever is the curly bracket inside which it is declared. Whichever is the nearest curly bracket to that, that is the lifetime. Okay. So all the best, everyone. Thank you. Please try to experiment on the coding platform. Try to ask it out in Discord. And all the best for your exams and main batch. Like I hope to see you in the main batch soon. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Good night.